Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the virtual Indianapolis Motor Speedway, where we get ready to see who can kiss the bricks tonight in the Northwest Cup Series. Justin Prince, Greg Rentz, Wesley Otley with you with Charles Wooden in the director's seat for tonight's action as we get ready for race 15 of the 2020 season on LSR TV, your home for sim racing. First things first, Greg, a very difficult track at hand tonight, but a very historic one where you want to win here when it comes to racing, whether it's virtually or in the real world.
Indianapolis Motor Speedway is probably the most historic venue in the world of racing, not just stock car racing, racing in general. This is one of the greatest facilities anyone can ever go to. You walk into the facility for the first time and you are just in awe when you're walking around looking at this place. And the iRacing Northwest Racing Series comes to town here tonight. 80 laps on deck, and Justin, it's going to be a battle of who can put the awe-inspired glasses aside and who can focus on going out and doing the thing for 80 laps here tonight.
Tonight, this race considered one of the crown jewels of the campaign, with prestige that is perhaps only topped by the Daytona 500 in life when it comes to motorsports. Real quickly, though, let's first talk about what happened the last race. It was an interesting one at Dover International Speedway, where a two-tire call came out to be the winning call, Greg, with Sean Brightsman taking home the checkered.
And Sean Brightsman is known for taking those gambles, Justin. He is known to take the two-tire stop late in the race if he feels like it'll benefit him. And I was talking with Seth Frazier this weekend. He said he would have taken two tires, but he didn't think anyone behind him was going to be able to take the two tires to make it work. He told me he had completely forgotten that Sean Brightsman was up there in the top 10, and he was worried as soon as he came out. And it turned out Brightsman was able to hold him off for the win. So Brightsman, third or fourth win on the year even for that number 46. It has been a very impressive year for Sean Brightsman. But Justin, I think it's a safe bet that two tires is not going to be the way to go tonight.
No siree, especially the amount of tire fall off we've seen here in the past and what's expected for tonight's race. Before we get to that point, though, and the start of qualifying, I'd like to mention how the points are going. If you want to race and you stay within eligibility in terms of points, you can compete for a championship this season. In total, a grand total of 7 drivers have won races. Brightsman now with a season-leading 4th victory with that performance at Dover. Seth Frazier with 3. Dan West Jr. and Jeff Stabnell with 2. Corey Walters, Bruce Weaver, and BJ Tidrick all with 1 apiece. When it comes to how the points have been shaping up when it comes to the top 12, Corey Walters at the edge of that top 12, at the edge of the top 16 bubble. And this one is a fairly significant one. Devin West now within the top 16 of the total points entering tonight, Greg.
And Devin West is a guy who has been so close so many times to winning a race, but because he hasn't won that race just yet, he's not yet locked into the playoffs. And that's why that 16th position was so important for Devin West, who missed the first couple of races of the season. So now he's trying to get himself back in there to get himself in via points, but you know he's going to want to win to lock himself in regardless and not have to worry about that for the rest of the year. But Justin, Devin has done so good so many times and been so close so many times, but it just hasn't quite gone his way yet this year.
Qualifying is underway as James Thurston nearly knocks down the wall in his opening lap, coming up to the green flag this time by. Track conditions blistering hot. This is going to add to the potential chaos tonight when it comes to the strategy. 79 degrees Fahrenheit air temp. Track temp 122 degrees as Thurston nearly scrapes the wall. May have tagged it in the short chute between 1 and 2.
And that's the thing about this racetrack. This track's so technical. It's such an old racing surface, and it's so much fun to drive, but it's so difficult to drive because you're all over the place trying to hang on to this thing as Thurston shoots down into turn number 3. He'll come through, and Justin, this track, it's so different than every other track. Granted, there is a corner at Pocono, which is coming up in a couple of weeks, that is exactly like these 4 corners you'll see today. But other than that, this track is truly one of a kind.
Absolutely. Not just the flat corners, mind you. They also have different types of cambers a little bit per corner, so you can't just take them exactly the same. You have to try and change up your line, potentially on where you are in, say, turn 1 to turn 2 to turn 3 to turn 4. Thurston's time did count at 52.579. Several other drivers, such as Stefan O'Hare, also starting qualifying for tonight's action. Now, I want to take this time to go towards Wesley Outland, standing by in the pit lane for tonight, for what's expected to be a very difficult one for today's race.
This, by far, is the most historic and famous racetrack in the entire world. Yes, Daytona International Speedway is nicknamed the World Center of Racing. Indianapolis Motor Speedway is the world capital of speed. You think of Gasoline Alley, you think of the Pagoda, you think of the Yard of Bricks, you think of the history not just of Indy cars and open wheels, but since 1994, NASCAR Cup-style cars as well. The Cup Series will actually be in action this weekend, as well as Xfinity and the IndyCar Series for their July 4th debut during this crazy summer that we are all dealing with in 2020. The same can be said here tonight as the drivers make their way down pit road. Prestige is here at the Brickyard. Who will win this marquee event for the Northwestern Cup Series? And to do that, Justin and Greg, you gotta have stellar pit stops with no mistakes. It should be fun. I'll call the action here at the Brickyard.
Thank you very much, Wesley. And a lot of tire fall-off, mind you, too, is expected today. Tire fall-off has been the name of the game. We talked about it where you can't simply take a two-tire stop, even on a one-lap stint. Say if you have a green flag run of that. There's that much amount of fall-off here at this racetrack. And oh, by the way, with the 80-lap distance, fuel window estimated to be at tops 38 today, Wesley.
Oh, yeah, it should be interesting. I think if these guys can play their cards right, you can at least make 2 fuel stops. But the question is, as you said, when do you mess up your tires? When do you blow your tires? When are we going to see drivers start using up that rubber, and you're going to see it affect their handling, that they're going to have to come to pit road? I do predict tonight we're going to see more cars come to pit road for more tire changes than to taking on fuel. This should be interesting. Strategy at its best here at the 2.5 rectangle Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
Indeed, multiple drivers now making their way around for qualifying. One of the fastest drivers in practice was Chris White inside the top 5, down to the top of the board. First driver in the 51s in this qualifying, a 51.968 on the first lap. And when it comes to this package here, Greg, one of the things is building up enough momentum to have enough speed to blister your way up to the top spot in qualifying. That can be tricky here to time that up to make sure you don't smack the wall in the short chutes or snap loose, let's say, on turn 4.
It'll be very difficult to see these guys go out there and try to do just that, Justin. This track's so technical, like you mentioned, as Chris White comes through turn 4 on his second lap. Still the only driver in the 51-second bracket. Pole sitter last week at Dover does a good job there through the corner. He gets knocked off by BJ Tidrick, the Darlington winner, for the time being as he comes across the line. And no, the first lap is quicker by about a tenth. So BJ Tidrick on top of the charts now. And right there you see the fall off that you were talking about there with the 83 of Chris White. So BJ Tidrick on top of the charts right now. And Justin Tidrick has been having quite a good couple of weeks for himself here, winning at Darlington, had a great run going at Dover before getting caught up in an incident mid-race. So Justin, BJ Tidrick's got some momentum going for him.
Indeed, looking very sporty the past couple of weeks. There are the temperatures we just talked about on the right side of your screen with how hot it is. Humidity as well, very high. And oh, by the way, it's very gusty right now. A lot of wind blowing across the track. So drivers, in some cases, say if they have to wait, may end up driving to a headwind based on how this wind's been swirling.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be different. And when you drive into a headwind with this aero package, that's going to slow you down quite a bit just because of the aero sensitivity on there. So you will see that quite a bit going down when you're in the headwind. Drivers are going to be fighting with everything they've got to hang on to it. And when you've got the headwind, yes, it's fine. But when you get into the corner and that wind hits you on the side, it could break you loose if you're not careful.
Still about 4 or 5 minutes left for drivers to set up times as we follow along with the 32 machine. This is Seth Frazier looking to carry momentum after having a strong performance at Dover. Of course, strategy dictated the race winner in part. Seth Frazier, end of his first lap this time by in the purple and black machine. Need to beat a 51.845 from Dan West Jr. It's a 52.1 though for Frazier on his first lap.
And Frazier, remember at Dover last week, shocked all of us because he said he was not looking forward to that race as he thought that was one of his worst tracks. Talking with him this weekend, he loves Indianapolis. He thinks he has a very good shot in the Paul Bearer Funeral Home for tonight. So Seth Frazier, he's going to be one that I'm keeping my eye on very closely tonight.
Now, one person we do have to keep an eye on tonight, fastest driver in practice, Jeff Stabnow. It's not only the fact that he's been strong so far at this racetrack, the only driver of the 51 flats in the entire session for more than an hour. It's also his birthday today, and now he's spinning in qualifying. Jeff Stabnow turned 48 years old today and now has smashed the front nose.
Not the way that you want to go on your birthday, and he was fastest in qualifying by quite some time. So Jeff Stabnow definitely going to reset and try it again. He was on his first lap, Justin, so he's going to be able to get at least one lap, but unfortunately he's going to have all that tire buildup and the fall off already in effect by the time he goes on the clock, so that could be very, very costly for him.
Indeed. Fun fact when it comes to Stabnow, by the way, he was born the same year as the first modern era season of NASCAR. That was about year 24 of NASCAR's existence, around that time, the 1970s. Carl Burke now on your screen, looking about this time from P7. On average, the fall-off has been about a tenth of a second on the second lap for qualifying. Will Burke be able to pick up from a 52.3 across the stripe this time by? And the second time around, a 52.391. So the answer is still no. BJ Tidrick's still the quickest.
Tidrick still on top of the charts right now. 20 cars have taken time thus far, Justin, and he dodged a bullet with Jeff Stabnow not being able to get a time on his first lap as he has just now begun his second lap. That shows you just how long it takes to get around here in Indianapolis. But Dan West Jr. on top of the charts in second, 51.845. So Tidrick, that's got to be pretty good for him to be able to out-qualify Dan West Jr., who's probably the hottest driver in the series right now.
Just seen Sean Brightsman put up a 52.179. That was on his second lap after he had trouble too on lap number 1 of qualifying. See if Stabnow's built enough speed in this entire build-up. Coming up the final corner this time, looking to set the pole, has had a strong season in 2020 in the Cup cars. Overall, when it comes to poles, he's had 2 in the campaign. Can he add a third on his birthday? Across the stripe at more than 180 miles an hour, it is a 51.930, only good enough for P3, still 2/10 off.
That is very impressive considering the fact of the tire fall-off that he had built up because of the fact that he missed the first lap of qualifying with that incident. So to go third at a 51.930 and only 4 drivers in this session have gone a 51 second lap, that's very, very impressive, Justin.
Just about every other driver has pulled off the racetrack. Only Carl Burke is rolling, who ended up taking the full cool-down lap around the racetrack. So 22 drivers have elected to take times here for the Brickyard tonight. And Greg, overall, based on what we've seen with this package, how important do you feel track position will be for those drivers who, say, are electing to stay at the back to see what happens?
Absolutely the most important thing in this race is going to be track position, and I say that because of the tire fall off. Once these tires start falling off on lap 2 or 3, it's going to be very, very difficult to pass, and especially with this aero package that makes it a little bit difficult to pass as well. You can run with the guy in front of you, but passing might be a little bit difficult. So I think you're going to want as much track position as you possibly can, Justin.
Absolutely. Again, BJ Tidrick, the fastest driver in qualifying overall. No other drivers on track. End of qualifying in the next few moments or so. As you see in the upper left corner of your screen, they do have an extra 5-minute buffer just in case. Wesley, though, you have an update of what just happened.
Oh, yeah, I checked in with birthday boy Jeff Stabnow. He says, hey, I'm happy with the car after having the problems. This car is tight. We are fighting the wind. We're loose in, tight off the center. We have to make some changes here to get it ready for 80 laps. Also, spoke briefly with Caden Anderson. His car is wicked loose. He says, if I can't get the right setup here when it's go time, I'm either going to fall to the back or I'm going to just like spin out because my car is that the loose. Another thing that we talked about, it's a hot track here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway for the virtual event here for the Northwestern Cup Series. Cars feels loose, flirts off into 3 and 4. I think we're going to see that again. What I was told by a couple of guys is, the cars feel loose because it's so hot. The track is so tacky, so they're not getting that kind of grip that you normally used to see in though. Justin lost track of thing here. Listening to some of the talk, fuel window between 31 to 35 laps, but that is when you're in a single pack, not when you're in a pack group like a draft. So that might change a little bit. Anyhow, it should be interesting. I will grab the pole sitter here in just a moment.
With that, let's take a look at how these drivers will line up. After what was an exciting qualifying session, BJ Tidrick starts on the pole tonight in the number 72 machine with a 51.771. Dan West Jr. starts on the outside of the front row with a strong performance of 2 in qualifying, a 51.845. Jeff Stabnow starts in row 2 alongside Chris White. He's also in a special paint scheme, Chris White is, for the 4th of July weekend. Seth Frazier starts in 5th for Sean Breitzman in P6. Stephen Paulison qualified in 7th, with Devin West starting in P number 8 with a 52.2. Carl Burke starts in 9th, and Brett Johnson drives the Coca-Cola Chevrolet from P number 10, Greg.
Kevin Smith in the 00, a lot of speed in the Jags Chevy over the weeks, rolls off 11 to his outside. Bruce Lee Weaver running another Penske scheme this week. He's got the discount tire Ford Mustang in the 12th position. Bill Ross Jr. in the number 17. Corey Walters in the 9 spot, 13 and 14, 1 row back to James Thurston and Joshua Marcy. And he's a guy who's really impressed us over the last couple of weeks with his race speed, is Joshua Marcy. He will roll off in the 16th position. John Ottenbacher with LSR TV on the hood of his Chevy Camaro in 17th. Dan Lowther in 18th in the number 63. Roy Grande and James Vining round out the top 20.
21st, Caden Anderson, a 53.5. In 21st spot, he'll start alongside one of several newcomers for tonight's race, making their first starts in the Northwest Cup Series in 2020. Jeffrey Hagan starts 22nd, the last driver to put in time. Ricky Bozer, 23rd. Ray Fournier, 24th. Stephen O'Hare in 25th. Scott Hutchinson, P26. Gerald Tidrick, 27th, with Frank Harris in P28. Rick Heffway, the second of the newcomers, starts in 29th. Dan Stuzzi's back in 30th. And the third of the newcomers, the 11 of Dan Borovich, rounds out the 31 entries for tonight. In sim time, just approaching 2 p.m. Track temp also skyrocketing despite the clouds that settled above the racetrack. But Wesley, I believe, is on the radio.
BJ Tidrick, it's Wesley, LSR TV. You got a copy?
Yes, sir.
Fast time, you're on the pole here at the Brickyard. You won at Darlington. That's the lady in black. What would it mean to win here at the Yard of Bricks?
Man, I tell you, I haven't been competitive in this series very much up until recently. Just found a little bit of speed. This is my first time being here in this Cup car, and had some speed early in practice. And I'm just really looking forward to this. This is a historic place, and to run good with this league is just that's big in its own.
Last question. Talk about setting the lap time that you did to be able to put it on the pole.
Man, I don't know. I think this place at Darlington kind of drives the same. You got to put the car on the right rear tire and throttle down, and I think you just got to drive it free, and it just played right into my hand. I don't know how long I'm going to save the tires here long run, but we'll see here shortly.
All right, go get after it. Again, Justin and Greg, that's the pole sitter, BJ Tidrick, ready to go here at the Brickyard.
Thank you very much, Wesley. As these drivers make their way through 3 and 4, a couple things to note. 2 drivers did miss the start, Ray Fournier and Dan Borovich, with 2 drivers electing to start on the pit lane. Ricky Bozier and Scott Hutchinson elect to start from a lawn front, where the Pagola is on the front straightaway. But just about all set to go for tonight's racing from Indianapolis Motor Speedway, who will be able to kiss the bricks tonight. 80 laps, 200 miles, all set to go. Pace car is off. Green flag waits up on the stand as BJ Chidrick leads us to start the race. And a massive jump.
Yeah, he went in a hurry, Justin. I think he caught Dan West Jr. sleeping there into number 55. BJ Tidrick able to get out to the early lead, and that's big here at Indianapolis because you want to get as much track position as you can. No better way to get out there in front, but look at how Dan West Jr. was able to fight back in a big hurry.
Already Tidrick losing the top line, trying to hunt this line, while Dan West Jr. shifted to third gear to try and move along that line. West Jr. on the outside wall. Chris White battles for third position behind us. Stabnow tries to side trap. Tidrick, though, still has the preferred line as West Jr. sends it.
Jr. on the outside, able to get around. Chris White, Jeff Stabnow battling for third behind him. Tidrick able to get a run there off of turn number 4. Get a good run here into turn 4, perhaps. We'll see how it goes. Give it to the 55 at the start. Dan West Jr. off of turn number 4, going to come down and lead him. 1 down, 79 to go.
He does indeed lead the first lap, and it's been a strong season for West Jr. from what we've seen in 2020, to say the very least. But already, the bottom line is the best line. To try and hold on to positions, Stephen Paulison just able to hold on to the 58 in the backdrop, snapped off into the short chute.
Checking in back up front, the purple cars, Seth Frazier and Sean Brightsman, the guys who we were talking about last week. You can down to those two. We talked about those bright purple cars. 5th and 6th right now on the speed charts. Frazier currently staying up in front of Brightsman, trying to track down Chris White, but Brightsman taking a peek to the inside of Frazier. That's your battle for 5th place right now, the two purple cars.
Yeah, and both of those purple cars have been very strong throughout the past month and a half. We talked about the performance in Frazier after bouncing back from a few sub-top 20 position finishes through the months of March and April. And as well, Sean Brightsman slowly but surely creeping towards history when it comes to the overall wins chart, as well as being the season leader. It's been strong campaigns for both those purple cars.
Yeah, Sean Brightsman leading the series in wins. I believe he has 4, if I'm not correct. Oh, Frazier caught the wall off turn number 2, and this early in a run here, Indianapolis, that is not good for the 32 car. And you see right there, Brightsman able to pounce to get to the inside of Frazier, and he's going to have Devin West following suit. Seth Frazier in trouble early.
That might work as a parachute, unfortunately, for Frazier, depending on how hard he hit it. Does have a crack to the right front and a wrinkled fender, already losing speed at the apex of the corners, as well as now Devin West is the next driver in the line. Carl Burke is also in the trap. The top 8 have ran away already from the rest of the pack by more than a second, Greg.
Showing you just how strong these top 8 cars are right now, but that's got to scare me on the 32, because if Carl Burke can get around him in the number 53, it might be a long day for Seth Frazier if he can't hold on to this draft, because it's a long way back to Brett Johnson to be next in line. Frazier going to try to hang on to it, but Carl Burke kind of having a little bit of problem sticking with him there, as well as it's about a second back to Brett Johnson, who's leading that second pack.
Crazy thing is, Burke had the quickest lap out of anybody on the racetrack last time by. And part of that, though, is, too, you may notice at the front of the group, Chris White and Jeff Stabnow were side-by-side through 1 and 2. Now White is side-by-side with Sean Brightsman. So all of a sudden, Chris White's starting to drop back a little bit. And at this type of racetrack, you kind of don't want to fight too early because of the amount of tire wear you can get from it and overheating the tires.
We're seeing that from much of the leaders here in the early going, except for those side-by-side battles. Particularly, I'm keeping an eye on the second-place car, the pole sitter, BJ Tidrick. He's not really letting Dan West Jr. get too far ahead, but he's not pushing it a whole lot either to go out and get the lead as West Jr. Boy, he went low there to try to break the draft of Tidrick. Everyone else stayed high, but you're seeing right here, Tidrick is trying to hang with Dan West Jr. just in a good enough spot to be able to get a go if something was to happen, but he's not burning up those tires either.
Absolutely, as Tidrick now starts to slip back all the way towards Jeff Stabnow as Stabnow nearly takes the wall. Still within 0.6 of a second, and for those wondering, yes, that does make a difference. This is something that drivers found out at tracks like Pocono in the official racing action across iRacing this past week or so, where depending on how you were able to take it and how much speed you had off the corner and down the straightaway, Greg, you can actually pull a 10th by breaking that toe.
Exactly. We saw it not just in the official races. We saw it all weekend in NASCAR with the 5 races there, counting the ARCA race, over the course of the weekend. We saw that all the time, drivers going down, trying to break the draft and trying to pull away. We saw right there, Dan West Jr. did not break the draft down the backstretch that time, and look at how BJ Tippett was able to pull back up on him. It's down to a couple of tenths now for between the 55 and the 72.
Tidrick now back within range once again. Stabno also closed up a few tenths in that drafting train. Brentzman, Devin West, Chris White also within the choo-choo train. But Tidrick electing to check up in the quarter entry. And this is part of the difficulty when it comes to passing at the Brickyard is, yes, you can build up runs, but it can also, as like some other tracks, take multiple laps to set up. Not because of the amount of speed you can get in the corner, but because if you do it the wrong way, you can either snap off the corner or burn up your tires to the point where you are falling like a rock after 10 laps.
And earlier in the run, I believe it was lap 2 or 3, Tidrick did snap loose off turn number 4, and that was where the gap came from between him and West Jr., and it took him about 3 or 4 laps to get back up to this point.
Caution.
Trying to put him out. Caution is out early.
Trouble down the back straightaway for the 78. Dan Stuzzi crashed after spinning a bit off of turn 2, and this is what we just talked about with how these drivers, we're talking about being tight off the corner. That time, he bounced off the wall in the corner and bounced off the wall before stopping against the fence.
Not the way you want to start the day if you're Dan Stuzzi, and he has had so much bad luck in this series, Justin, and unfortunately, looks like another one going to be going up for him. One driver already behind the wall out of the race. It's James Thurston in the number 2. 2 drivers did not start the race, Dan Porovich and Ray Fournier, who has been battling connection issues all day.
Thurston had dropped back to about 17th spot and was 19th before he ducked it down to the pit lane, telling drivers over the radio he needed to get off the track quickly. But first pit stop window is open, and this is where it can get a bit more interesting when it comes to the fuel mileage and how these drivers are able to handle this pit lane, because pavement on the pit lane itself, concrete pit boxes, Greg.
Definitely, it'll be interesting to see these drivers with those transitions from pavement to concrete. But Justin, we were talking about pre-race. We're expecting every single car on pit road for 4 fresh tires here, every chance we get. So we will see how many guys come in, and I'm not expecting any strategy calls at all here, Justin. I think this is a 4-tire pit stop every single time today.
Leslie, believe you're standing by as these drivers ready to duck down to the lane.
I think they're all coming down to pit road. You all see them playing right there to the commit cone. And now they slither their way to their pit boxes, down to their pit stalls. Got to be making sure they're meeting the proper speed limit, not to get busted for EOL on pit road penalties. Dan West Jr. right in front of us, Team LSR TV entry. Tidrick, the fast man from the pole. Stab now. All coming in, taking on service. Also, we've got Devin West, Chris White, Seth Frazier, all in their pit stalls, ready to go to pit stall 1, taking on 4 tires. Yes, sirree. They're going to jack up the right side of the car. Watching Tidrick did pit stall number 1 for getting the pole position. Right now, cars already starting to pull off a pit exit. Here comes the first one out. And everyone else with Dan West Jr., Tidrick, a drag race off pit road with Stabnow and company. I think that was Breitzman right there with them, door to door there like a drag race. And everyone taking 4 tires, Sunoco fuel, a chassis adjustment if need be if their cars are loose, and they're ready to get back in the dance. The question is, how many more times will they come to pit road?
Yeah, that's going to be tricky. And you want to hear the crazy thing, Wesley, too? 2 people did take 2 after 8 laps of green flag racing.
There you go.
Burke, Dan Lowther both took 2 to jump up to the lead for Burke into the top 10 for Lowther.
A 2-tire stop for Carl Burke. How about that? I find that rather surprising, but I'm telling you, Greg, and me and you talked about this on his truck performances, and we've seen him in the last couple of weeks in the Cup Series too, gentlemen, for the Northwestern Series. Carl Burke has really worked really hard. He's improved. The ingredients are there to put it in victory lane. He's just got to find that right recipe to make it happen. It could happen here at Indianapolis, possibly.
So an intriguing call for the 53 machine, to say the least, Greg. And your thoughts and take on Carl Burke with this call to take the lead?
Well, it's going to give him the clean air that we've talked about being so important. The one that I'm worried about is the 63 of Dan Lowther. Gained some spots. He was in the 17th position at time of pit stop. He will cross the strikes, being scored in the 8th position. He's right in the middle of those cars that took 4 tires. So that's the one that I'm nervous about, is that 63 car. How is that car going to react on 2 tires in the middle of the pack?
Going to be a very intriguing one. Get your popcorn out, folks, as we get ready to restart with 70 laps to go. It is Carl Burke in control of the field with 2 tires. Dan West Jr. on 4. Devin West in P3. AJ Tidrick shuffled to the top line in P4. Sean Brightsman's in 5th, with Jeff Stabnow in 6th. In the 7th spot, Chris White on 4 tires, and then Dan Lowther on the top line in the 63 with 2 tires. Paulison and Kevin Smith round out the top 10. Also keep an eye on Bruce Lee Weaver and Bill Ross in row number 6. And Brett Johnson, who is in that second, just the very edge of the second group, about a second back, is now shuffled to 14 after the pit cycle. Expectations, Greg, for what we're about to see?
We're going to see something very interesting out of the 53 car. I'm not sure what it's going to be, but it's going to be interesting. I'm going to keep a close eye on the 53, definitely keep an eye on the 63, but honestly, I'm expecting to see Dan West Jr. do much like what he did at the start of this race and be able to get up, get past Carl Burke, and try to get himself back in the race lead.
See if that becomes the case here as pace car rolls through turn 4. 9.2 degrees of banking here at this 2.5-mile historic racetrack. As the iRacing pace car moves its way underneath the commitment cone, Carl Burke revs it up. 3 count as we're off and away.
Burke went early there, but look at West Jr. He was wise to it this time, not getting caught sleeping like he did with Tidrick. And boy, oh boy, those top cars breaking away right now. As Stabnow did not get going on that restart, that allows both West and Brightsman to clear. Speaking of clear, though, Dan West Jr. making the outside lane work. He is far and away clear of Carl Burke.
Made it look very easy. Burke, it appeared on the start, almost seemed to hit the chip a bit. Might have hit neutral just for a split second to the gears. That's cost him the clean air, and here comes the choo-choo train.
Tidrick on the inside has Devin West with him. Sean Brightsman as well. Look at the 63 of Dan Lowther hanging in there right now so far. Oh, but he pushed up the track there in turn number 3, and that's going to allow Chris White to get to the inside, as does Kevin Smith. So just as we were getting ready to talk about Dan Lowther, and I was impressed how he was able to hang in there so far, already it's going away in the 63 cars. Now he's under pressure from Kevin Smith. Side-by-side battle behind him between Bill Ross in the 17 and Steve Paulison in the 58.
All single followed out now, including in that fight. That was for the edge of the top 10. As next victim now for Burke, this time on the 2 tires. It's the 4 tires of Chris White. Has talked about special paint scheme tonight for the AMSOIL machine. This time in his Ford Mustang, taking the red, white, and blue colors with a happy 4th of July look tonight. Had to check up off the corner. That's why Lowther gets the burst here into 3.
Great looking Ford Mustang for Chris White, but Dan Lowther able to get a run and get around the 83. But boy, that 63 just does not look stable on corner exit, and Chris White was able to get back down to the bottom here in turn number 4. Gutsy call by Dan Lowther, but seems to be making the best out of it right now, as he's going to be scored in the 7th position as they come to the strike. And he's already gotten past Carl Burke, the other driver, to take 2 tires. So that's an impressive run already for Dan Lowther to be able to gain that spot. But he's actually gained a couple of spots from the fall of the green flag. He's up 2 spots since the green flag fell.
Which is very impressive to say the least, as some drivers now getting still shuffled around. Still, the descent of Burke continues. This is a whole gaggle that includes about 6th on back, by the way, to the point where they're trying to go 3 wide. That was Bruce Weaver and Caden Anderson trying to make a peak. Oh, by the way, with Anderson, remember, he started back in 21st grade.
No practice time for Caden Anderson. Barely made it out for qualifying. Said the car was loose. Probably made some quick adjustments and got that thing to where he wants it. And looks like he's got it where he wants it now, because he's putting pressure on Carl Burke. Scored in 13th last time by. As they come to the strike, he is making some good moves in that number 37 car. Moved the 37 up to 11th on the charts right now. Carl Burke trying to hang on to the top 10. Anderson, I've talked to him a little bit. He is so hungry, Justin, for this first career Northwest Racing Series win. I think he has more second finishes than any other driver in the Northwest Racing Series, but has not broken through and gotten that win. He is starving for that first win. Could have come tonight at the Brickyard.
Trouble for Lowther. He got hit hard off the corner exit after he smacked the wall off turn 2. Bill Ross Jr. crushed his front nose in the back end of the 63. He's now sliding back, and all of a sudden, all the progress that Lowther made goes for naught after slamming the wall off too.
That's got to be a tough break for Dan Lowther. Fortunately, he does have a fast repair in the bank ready to go, but that's got to be irritating for Lowther to now be falling to the back after having a good run and really impressing us on that 2-tire run. And the left side damage on the 63 definitely is going to affect him here on this run. He's going to hope for a caution as quick as he possibly can. Boy, one driver has fallen way back. Seth Frazier in the number 32 back in the 18th spot right now, as he is trying to fight his way back up to the front. So the 32 of Frazier making progress back towards the front, but a long way to go for last week's runner-up at Dover.
Elected to get the damage repaired. He did not use the fast repair. Does have still a little crinkle on the right front and a little chip out of the fender as well, but has slowly crawled his way back up with 53.6 last time by. Is still gets on through as the caution is out.
That's going to be good for Frazier because now he can get a little bit more work done as we have our second caution of the night. Looks like Daryl Tidrick involved, and I believe the 62 of Rick Heffley, who's making his debut tonight, the other car involved.
No, that was Jeffrey Hagan, but the 43 of Tidrick smacking the wall, collects exposure, and already having our second yellow of the day. Each run has been on average around 7 to 8 laps so far, and that comes on a 3-car incident.
3-car incident for our second caution of the day. 15 laps complete, working lap 16 under caution. Dan West Jr. has led every green flag lap thus far. Carl Burke was able to get up and lead a couple under caution with some strategy, but every green flag lap thus far has been that blue and white LSRTV 55 Camaro.
And for those keeping track on the 2-stop strategy drivers, Carl Burke slipped back to 11th spot. Remember, he was inside the top 10 before that decision. While Dan Lowther was holding on to P6 before he knocked down the wall off turn 2. He's back in 19th position after those decisions. 64 to go. That means one thing, Wesley. More drivers making their way towards your direction in that commitment cone.
Yeah, and the question is, who's going to take on 2 tires like Burke and company did with Lowther, or the gamble will just see that it's not going to work and they'll go for 4. And they also, will they fill the tanks up? Here they all come down pit road, led by Dan West Jr., the number 55 entry. Everyone behind him, including Tidrick and Hutchinson, looks like he's going to stay out. So everyone comes to their pit stall, and we'll see everybody go to work. Davin West looks like he'll stall and get his place back into the pits first, followed by Brightsman, followed by everyone else. They're going to jack up the right side of the car for everyone that's in their pit stalls as Seth Frazier comes to a stop at his pit stall box at number 5. Brightsman is out. I think he took 2 tires. Brightsman ahead of the field as now Tidrick and West battle off of the pit return road. I believe Brightsman took 2 tires. Gamble and Burke in this second round of pit stops as everyone else exits off the pit lane.
Justin, we've seen this out of Brightsman time and time again, but this is really early for the 46 car to be making a move like that. I think he is banking on a caution coming out again in like 7 laps or so, and he can keep his car up there. Good move by Brightsman to get some track position, but man, oh man, that is a little early to be doing something like that.
Yeah, that is an intriguing one from Brightsman. There was a second driver who took 2 as well. We talked about Seth Frazier being back in the teens after he got damage repair. Greg Heat took 2 as well to get into back in the top 10.
So track position. We talked about drivers wanting track position, but at what cost? Looks like they are going to put themselves in that position. We saw what it did with the 53 of Burke. Lowther was doing a good job hanging in there until he hit or had the contact, so we didn't really get a good opportunity to see what it would do with the 63. It looked like he was doing a good job with it We'll see what happens this time. Scott Hutchinson, the 91, stayed out to lead a lap. He's coming down pit road this time, so he will fall to the tail end. But Scott Hutchinson staying out to get a lap led, and he will come in pit now. That will give the lead to the 46 of Sean Breitzman, but he's going to have Dan West Jr. to his outside when we take the green flag.
Well, a Team LSR TV 1-2 for this restart, as Hutchinson now gets the chance to take the 4 tires. Remember, was one of the drivers who started off in the pit lane in this race. The top 10 now: Breitzman, West Jr., Stabnow, BJ Tidrick, Devin West, Chris White, Smith, Anderson, Frazier. And rounding out the top 10 at the moment is Paulison. So an interesting one to say the very least. The only thing I think of here, Greg, is, and I think we're thinking the same wavelength, is hoping to get that clean air and hoping that if you get a quick caution, say 2-3 laps, you can then take 4 tires and in turn still be out the front of the field and gain net positions. That's the only thing I think.
That's about what I'm thinking as well, trying to get up, getting that clean air. Maybe so much not have the lead, but try to stay in the top 5 and hope for a quick caution. That way you can get the 4 tires on and then try to work your way up for the rest of the day, because he's got such a task ahead of him right now. And we're not talking about the 2 tires trying to hang up. I'm talking about right at the get-go, he's going to have Dan West Jr. who's outside. We have seen how much speed that 55 car has on the initial start. So Breitzman has a very tall task at hand here on this initial restart to keep Dan West Jr. behind him.
Yeah, throughout the night so far, Dan West Jr. has not been afraid to use the 3rd gear coming off of turn 2 to give an extra bit of speed to make sure he can try and make a pass if he's stuck on the high side. This time, though, Breitzman in control of the field in the 46 machine. Several fellow teammates and friends alongside him. Pace car is off. Field in control of Breitzman back underway.
Breitzman with the good bump there on the initial restart. Tidrick with another good shove from Devin West. We saw that on the last restart. Breitzman able to get up in front of West, but he has to get directly in front of him. We got to get that clean air. He does. Breitzman going to have a position on Dan West Jr. for now, and now Breitzman goes fully on defense. He saw the number 7 of Brett Johnson break really loose there in the back, so he almost got his caution there, but I think that would have been too early for that caution. But Sean Breitzman, he's out front right now. Dan West Jr. behind him. Breitzman now goes on defense.
Drivers going 2-3 wide into turn 3 and 4 this time. Choo-choo train up front. Going to get very intriguing. Dan West Jr. has still not made the pass up at the front of the field, but Seth Frazier still holding on to P9 for now. But Carl Burke, who took the 2-tire call at the last pit stop window, is just behind him along with Bruce Lee Weaver.
Breitzman trying to break the draft of West Jr. up front, but West has a run with help from Stabnow. Toyota, Chevy, Ford, your top 3, and they're all racing side by side. They've all got LSR TV on them. Breitzman, West, side by side. Stabnow going with his former teammate, Sean Breitzman.
The lead is side by side at the front of the field between the 55 and the 46. Here comes the boost for Dan West Jr. Side by side for P3 as well. Can West Jr. get clear on the outside line? Yes, new race leader Dan West Jr. once again. Breitzman still hugs the bottom, though, still tries to take it away, nearly bobbles as BJ Tidrick scrapes the wall.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't know if he caught the wall or if he came about half an inch away from it, but Tidrick got up close to the wall, but was able to complete the pass for 3rd on Jeff Stabnow. Now taking a peak low on Sean Breitzman, 3 wide behind him as they shoot down the finish line. A quarter of the way this race now, Justin, and it is a definitely interesting race as he saw some unexpected strategies. Oh, contact, there goes Tidrick.
BJ Tidrick makes contact with the left rear in a side-by-side fight, saves it, and caution. That triggers the caution as he stops in the bottom of the racetrack.
Right.
That time
gets the caution, but he was involved in the caution just a little bit. It was contact with him. How much damage did that 46 get?
Fender looks okay, but you see on the replay, just Breitzman, just enough of a kick out with Tidrick pushing tight led to the contact, it looked like.
And oh man, tough break for BJ Tidrick because he was so strong in this race. Qualified on the pole, had so much momentum going, but contact between him and down to the inside he shoots. And these are 2 guys who I see race quite often in the iRacing.com Northwest Late Model Tour. that runs during the winter. BJ Tidrick, of course, helps run the league. Sean Brightsman, a former winner in that series, both staples in that series as well. Fun seeing him run up in the top 5, but man, oh man, that's a heartbreaker for Tidrick.
So BJ Tidrick, who has been in the top 5 much of the race, now back in 25th position after that trouble. Dan West Jr. did pull away by a few tenths of a second prior to that after taking the lead. So now only a few laps around that time on that particular stint. Gonna be curious to see how this all plays out based on the fact that the strategy's been completely different than what we expected tonight, Greg, so far.
Definitely been different than what we expected. I'm sticking to my guns, though. If I'm behind the wheel, I'm taking 4 tires every chance I get. And here's the thing. Some drivers may think, oh, it's only been a couple of laps. I can stay out there and be okay. But Justin, we've talked about how big the tire fall off was. We've seen it in qualifying, how big the tire fall off was. Even if though it was only 2 or 3 laps, you might still want to come in and take 4 tires just so you're not a sitting duck for the drivers that do. So if it's me, I'm taking 4, but we've seen it already. Multiple drivers doing the 2-tire stop. Here they come, Wesley.
Third time on the pit road. Who's going to make it a charm here as everyone comes to their pit stall? Look at one man deciding to peel out. Was that, I think that's the 32 of Seth Frazier. He decides to stay on the racetrack. Everyone else coming down the pit road. By the way, speaking of the last caution flag, spoke to Sean Brightsman. Glancing blow off the left rear of the 46 car. Not a lot of damage. He's going to be able to rock on and keep going. Any damage? None on the 72 of BJ Tidrick. All he's going to simply do is change the tires. Oh, Brightsman overshoots his pit stall. He is going to lose the valuable time. Goes forward, backs up, goes again. Dan West Jr. off pit road. Everyone else on the midsection now beginning to peel away at the Pagoda pylon, making their pit stalls. And again, Tidrick flat spotted the tires, no damage after that spin on 72. He's ready to continue here as we approach lap 24 at Indianapolis.
You know the crazy thing here too, Wesley? We just had 7. Not just 1, 7 drivers elect to stay out on 6-lap old tires or so after what was but a 4 or 5 lap green flag run. Based on your experience at this particular racetrack, how does that usually fare?
You know, we're still so early in the going of this deal. I mean, if you want me to Larry Mack this thing for you, I mean, we're only got these cars in the front with about 6 laps fresher tires than everyone else. Everyone else has got new tires on these 6-lap older tires. I really don't think it's much of a difference. Now, obviously, as we move about 20 laps later down the road, as we approach halfway in lap 40, then I think it's going to possibly become a different strategy. But currently, right now, I don't think it means anything.
Thank you very much, Wesley, as Caden Anderson got a speeding penalty for his pit stop, by the way, having to sacrifice all the positions. He was one of several drivers who elected to take 2 tires during the pit stop. Dan West Jr. took 2, O'Hare took 2. Up at the front of the field, just about everybody else outside of Anderson took 4 tires. But with that call by the drivers up at the front to stay out, Seth Frazier now in the lead after having to get repairs early on. Bruce Weaver in second. Autumn Bucker also stayed out in P3. He has front nose damage. Roy Grande with a different look tonight in the Mountain Dew machine starts this one in P4. James Vining's cat cars up to 5th. Dan Lather in 6th. He ended up not using the fast repair after the previous incident. But Tidrick, Dan West Jr., Stephen O'Hare, and Devin West rounding up the top 10. Track position has been key all night, Greg. At this point, it's the end-all be-all, it seems, for these drivers based on what they're expecting this to go, it seems.
Yeah, it has been definitely interesting seeing these drivers take all kinds of different routes here on pit strategy and lack thereof, or just trying to go out and try different things. It's been so much fun watching it go. I want to talk real quick. We talked about it for just a split second. I love the Mountain Dew Baja Blast car that Roy Grande is driving. We've seen him in Taco Bell colors for several races now, and now running the Baja Blast, which for years and years Taco Bell exclusive. Now, of course, available every summer in bottles and cans. But gotta love a good old-fashioned Baja Blast while you're at Taco Bell and perhaps getting ready to make a trip to the Brickyard.
I've never actually seen that brand before, and this may be the Canadian coming out of me for that particular beverage. Curious to hear how that would exactly taste, as these drivers look to try and kiss and taste the bricks on their lips tonight. As pace car is off, Seth Frazier leads them to the green flag for the first time tonight. We're back underway.
Frazier trying to get the run. This is the first time all day Dan West Jr. has not been up on the front row. Frazier able to get away from Bruce Lee Weaver into number 40. Weaver, remember, the Michigan winner on strategy, so he might be thinking two could be the charm here. And I'm loving the fact, Justin, that Weaver is running different Penske Racing inspired paint schemes. I gotta say, Penske Racing always has some of the sharpest looking cars every single week in and week out. Ooh, they fanned out behind them there, going 3-4 wide. But I love the Penske cars that Bruce Lee Weaver's been driving lately, and the Discount Tire one, that one is just so clean. Probably the best looking car in the Penske stable.
I really like the look of that machine. Looks very clean. It actually looks really good too with the number font for the 40 machine tonight. 55 laps to go though. Good run off the corner. Frazier again trying to break the draft and hold on to the clean air. Ottenbacher has lost time. With the damages to the outside goes Bruce Lee Weaver for the race lead. No.
Weaver trying to get around Seth Frazier. Weaver's another guy who races in the Northwest Tour, so I've seen him quite a few times. Boy, Frazier had to go on defense right there to try to keep him at bay. Ottenbacher right there in the catbird seat if something happens, but here comes Ottenbacher to the inside. He just said, okay, time to go, as he went to the inside of Bruce Lee Weaver, trying to get up there. Great run here so far for John Ottenbacher in car number 89, as he's going to get second spot from Weaver. Not quite clear, though, off of turn 3. Now he is. Weaver with the crossover. Devin West says hello.
Got a really good run, to say the very least, off turn 2 to try and build up that momentum. And what's the saying? When it comes to this package, if you've got to run, you either have to take it or you have to try and send it to the back end. He wanted to take the run to the outside of the race leader. John Ottenbacher looking to take it away from Seth Frazier. The damage not affecting him in the speed chart quite yet, as he still fights on the top line this time.
I loved the way they all came down skiing through the front stretch that last time. That was textbook driving by everyone involved. Ottenbacher able to clear Frazier. Now we're going to go 3 wide for the second spot. West on the inside, Weaver in the middle with Frazier outside. Here comes Dan West here trying to link up with the son Devin, as Ottenbacher leads him through turn 3, trying to set him up for turn number 4. Whoa, both West family cars just blinked out, so perhaps some internet connections over there in the West family household. But Ottenbacher coming down, Frazier with a big run. Can Ottenbacher lead the lap? This will be his first lap led in a while. If he can, Frazier taking a peek to the inside at the line. Give it to Ottenbacher. He's leading the way for the time being, but Frazier coming back on the inside. Devin West falls in behind him.
So Ottenbacher now to the race lead. Also in this grouping, we Weaver with the strategy call in the top 6. We got a quick update involving those two.
You know, one of the things I just want to talk about is their improvement. I mean, you know, when I first came onto this deal with you guys, calling the trucks on Thursday night with Greg and working pit road with you gentlemen on Monday nights, Ottenbacher and Grande and Weaver used to get caught up in wrecks and be torn up and not even be in the hunt of leading. Ottenbacher's out in front. What great improvement the last couple of weeks. Also, you have Roy Grande. He's got a good run going for him. And Bruce Lee Weaver, another driver that has been battling, if you will, into the top 10. So improvement for these guys that I acknowledge here in the last couple of weeks of racing on the series.
New race leaders, though. The West family racing machines. Devin West and Dan West Jr. drove like John Ottenbacher, like he was standing still in turn 4. And now, this is the first time the two have linked up together, and because of all those drivers still on the old tires by 6 laps difference, and the others that still have to get by them on the fresher tires, they've already pulled away 7/10 of a second.
Yeah, and they are linked up and driving away from Ottenbacher and company behind them. Devin West leading the way. His first laps led at the Brickyard in his career. Dan West Jr. always a threat to win anywhere we go. And we're seeing that out of Devin West, too. He's still hunting for that first Cup Series win. Does have a win in the Truck Series that came back at Homestead, Miami. back in March. But Devin West leading the way here at the Brickyard right now. Chris White taking a peek inside of Ottenbacher for the 3rd spot. He will not have it at the line just yet, but he gets him into turn number 1. So move Chris White to 3rd, bringing Jeff Stapp now with him in the number 24, who's the birthday boy, trying to get up there. Ooh, big slide out of Ottenbacher. That's going to allow Seth Frazier to get back underneath him as well. They come together off of turn 2.
That was close, to say the very least. Ottenbacher drifted all the way from near the top wall down half a lane from the preferred corner exit. Frazier still lying back up behind Bruce Lee Weaver. But now at this point, the top 4, all drivers who pit on the last caution flag. Then the rest of the top 8 are the drivers who stayed out the last caution. Only driver inside the top 8, mind you, who took 2 still is Dan West Jr. as Sean Breitzman recovering from his incident, now back in the top 10.
Breitzman doing a great job rallying up through the field, and it was so unfortunate for him to have that strategy work out for him and then have the incident on pit road. That was tough for Breitzman. It had to be a tough pill to swallow, and you know if he gets another caution here, he's going to try that again, knowing him, as he's already caught the top 10 and is trying to get up into the...
Oh, trouble! Back straightaway!
Dan Lowther, hard.
Dan Lowther hard down the back straightaway. No caution flag off the racing line.
Saw this at Darlington a few times with cars going down below the racing line, getting in the incident, and the caution doesn't come out. Lowther trying to get back up to speed, and he already had used the fast repair after the hit earlier in the race, so this is no doubt going to end the night for Dan Lowther. Tough break as we stay green. He's going to have to limp it back to pit road. Justin, one guy I noticed who's in a battle right now, 3 wide inside. F41 is Stephen O'Hare. Had to take the provisional, started 25th, up in the top 10, 3 wide inside, getting around Frazier, trying to get Weaver as well. Stephen O'Hare is quietly knocking on the door of a top 5 before too long.
Indeed, and he was one of the drivers who took 2 tires. This call, based on what we've seen this run, working for him. Weaver hits the wall, spinning for the 40, down the back straightaway, hard into the safer barrier. No caution flag as he's off the racing line now, too.
Same thing as Lowther. A lap later, Weaver took a hard hit to the wall, and he is slow, and that car is crab walking down the backstretch. Discount Tire going to need more than just 4 tires on this one, as he's going to limp it back to pit road. Fortunately, he still has the fast repair in the bank, but man, oh man, it was working for him earlier, but now that 2-tire strategy might have bit him there as the set or handling of the 40 car just goes away. He's still in trouble.
He was one of the drivers who stayed out, actually, but Dan Lowther, remember, banked the fast repair on the previous incident off turn 2. However, James Vining has a crushed in front nose, and 2, Roy Grande smacked the wall the previous lap and nearly hit Sean Breitzman. He's also got damage repair, as more cars rolling their way down the pit lane, to at the very least.
Yeah, cars making their way down, but we got battle for second. Chris White to the inside of Dan West Jr. Something happened to that 55.
Trouble Breitzman. He's now hit the wall. He's stopped on the bottom of the racetrack after making contact with the back end of Stephen O'Hare after he mowed down the fence. And
caution
does bring out the caution.
Caution finally coming out there. Man, oh man. That was interesting. We had 3 incidents there before we finally got a caution, and one guy who did not want to see the caution was that 5 of Devin West, because he was beginning to pull away. But I guess what happened with the 55, because he was hanging tough with his son, and then all of a sudden I looked up and he was under pressure from the 83, more than a second back. So he's got some right rear damage on the 55. Something definitely happened.
Yeah, those past 3 laps were very, very interesting. 6 different cars in the same sequence of corners ended up mowing down the corner exit wall and getting significant damage. Several drivers elected to come down to get the fast repair. Dan Lowther pinned the lap down with Roy Grande as a result. The drivers who didn't get the chance to come down end up staying in the lead lap. By the way, James Vining just came out of the pit lane to use that lap. So this really is now shooken up with 46 to go. As an update from Wesley.
Update on cars that got damaged a few moments ago. Lowther, quick repair, able to go on and be able to do something to stay in this race. He will continue along here. Also, the same can be said for Weaver. Weaver's car should be able to be okay to continue along. And Weaver, also Frazier had some damage. He's going to be all right. And here comes everyone on the pit lane here for pit stops. Again, led by Devin West, Chris White, Dan West Jr., Jeff Stabnow, Audenbacher, Burke, Frazier, all coming on the pit lane. You see Lowther, he's going to stay out on the racetrack, as well as a couple of other cars to boot. But again, here comes everyone on the pit lane, ready for their pit stops. Do you go for 4 tires, or do you see people still surprisingly go for 2 to get that track position? As everybody right now for the time being is going to their pit stalls, nobody making any mistakes or faults, as right now the number 7 car quickly comes to a stop in his pit box. Whoa! One on the brakes and crashes in the pit lane. I want to say that was the number 7. Well, that was right in front of the number 7 car. So we had a wreck on pit road, guys, or almost a near crash. Devin West exits off the pit lane. Was that Bruce Lee Weaver, I think?
Yes.
Wow.
He had
That's
been
a tough break.
Yeah, he was crab walking and did not use the fast repair, Wesley. Did get back to the pit box, but all the drivers at the front did take 4 this time. Devin West, Dan West Jr., Chris White, John Audenbacher, Stefan O'Hare round out the top 5. We'll take a short break. You're watching LSR TV, your home for sim racing, for tonight's coverage, the Northwest Cup Series from the Brickyard.
ETE Reman is the world's best remanufacturer of transmissions for import and domestic cars and trucks. Based in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, our customers are repair shops, auto parts stores, dealerships, and distributors. And with 6 nationwide warehouses, we're where and when you need us. So when you're looking for a transmission that is like new, only better, instill confidence and install ETE Reman.
Back to racing with 44 laps to go as we get ready to make that mark. Here at Indianapolis Motor Speedway, Justin Prince, Greg Rentz, Wesley Altman with you, with Charles Wooden in the director's seat tonight. To recap the top 10, Devin West, Dan West Jr. in row 1 for this upcoming start. Chris White, John Audenbacher in row 2. O'Hare and Burke row 3. Caden Anderson charged his way up to the field on the 2 tires despite the speeding penalty up to 7. BJ Tidrick back in P8. Stephen Paulson, Bill Ross Jr. round out the top 10. And a good recovery drive, should note, for Tidrick in the 72 after having that crash just about 20 laps ago.
Yeah, great job by Dirk to fight his way back to the field, showing how much speed is in that number 72 here tonight. And Justin, we've talked about it a couple of times. How impressive has he been since that win at Darlington? He's really been able to transition it into some positive momentum here. Great run at Dover, and now follows it up with a pole here tonight. Back up in the top 10 after an incident. That number 72 has something here right now.
See, he'll be able to drive his way back up to the front, starting again in row 4 on the top line. West Family Racing in control of the field in the effective Web Solution Chevrolet Camaros. Red one on the inside, blue one on the right side. The dad beats the son on the jump. Green flags back out though. Devin West still racing up the stripe.
West able to get in front of West, as Devin able to get in front of the number 55, Chris White, with a bobble trying to get to the inside of Dan West Jr. That allows Devin to clear him, as West wasn't quite there just yet. White comes back to the inside, battle breaking out. Meanwhile, up front, Stephen O'Hare.
Caution flag is back out. BJ Tidrick, Daryl Tidrick rather, and Roy Grande this time. get involved in an intriguing one as Roy Grande had the run on the top side and a squeeze came for the 45. And by the way, Greg, that means no fast repairs remaining after the previous incident for Roy Grande.
And he has taken it behind the wall, Justin. He has disconnected. He is done. He has put it on the trailer. Unfortunately, Baja Blast, much like it is in the summer, just going to have a flash in the pan and then go away. To Roy Grande, tough break for him. Also, Scott Hutchinson out of the race. His received throughput fell to unacceptable level. What that means is that's basically the iRacing version of engine trouble, if you will, Justin. That's basically a problem with the connection. Basically, you're having motor problems, and that's what's going on with Scott Hutchinson. He has fallen out of the race, so he's behind the wall for the time being.
So back under caution after the quick restart. Most drivers stayed within the top 10 where they started in respective positions. A couple did change, however. Kane Anderson got back to P6 on the jump. Tidrick shuffled still to P8. Burks now P7. Paulson and Ross Jr. out at the end of the top 10. Keep in mind, we're still outside the fuel window to make it to the end of the race, Greg. Wesley mentioned around for some in solo runs, 33 to 35-ish, give or take. Some have talked about with the draft, maybe 38. We're still outside that picture, and it could be tight. And it also could be interesting how the rest of the race plays out.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Coming up on halfway, we'll hit halfway on this caution, Justin. So it's been an interesting race thus far. No doubt it's different than what we expected. We expected this to be coming in for 4 tires every chance we get, but there have been all kinds of different strategy. Whoa, Devin West thinking twice, and looks like everybody's going to stay out here. Would you expect to see some cars coming in the back, as it looks like Bruce Lee Weaver is going to be the first car to come down pit road. So we are going to have a bunch of cars that stayed out before we got the first cars with tires, and we did not complete a green flag lap there, Justin. So if you're going to try it, now's the time.
Indeed, those drivers making their way towards the pit stops, including some of the big names early on, Wesley.
Bruce Lee Weaver, Seth Frazier, all those drivers coming in for pit road service. Birthday boy number 24, Jeff Stabnow, celebrating his birthday, the native out of Montana, turning 48 today. Big happy birthday to him. Dan Lowther, after his incident earlier with Weaver, getting damage repair done. They're all back out on the racetrack now on the pit exit. And I was listening briefly to Team LSR radio communications, and they were saying, pit, don't pit. And quickly you saw Devin West and Dan West follow along with son and father, the sight job on everybody, and then you see the end result. Again, why come to pit road? Why give up that track position? Because we didn't even take half a lap before the yellow flag fell. The tires are still cool.
Absolutely. Still a lot of good in them, to say the very least. Thank you very much, Wesley. 42 laps to go this time by. Check that, 41 to go.
Halfway under this caution, Justin. Yeah. It's been interesting, to say the least. And we sound like a broken record, but this is nothing like what we expected out of this race so far.
So based on what you've seen so far, though, Greg, who do you feel are the big players, the ones to watch for the second half of this race?
Well, obviously you got to go with the West family, Devin and Dan, Chris White up there as well. But I got to say, the guy who has caught my attention the most is that number 41, is Stephen O'Hare, sitting in the 4th spot. Took the provisional, started 25th, is riding in the top 5 right now. Used some strategy to get up into that position. It worked, and now he's got himself in the top 5 and pretty solidly in there. So we will see how it goes for him, but he's the one that has been very impressive for me thus far. And of course, you got Caden Anderson making progress, BJ Tidrick climbing through the field as well. Carl Burke has actually hung around the top 10 all day. He's up in 7th after the strategy early on for him. He was kind of the one that was the first one to make that strategy call, and it has worked out in the long run for him as he's up in the top 10. So Carl Burke up there still right now.
Let's check in with Wesley. I believe he's on the radio with the race leader.
It is time for our LSR TV halfway update. Let's talk to the man leading the way as we get ready for the restart. They'll take the cross flags. Devin West, a sight job coming to pit road. You did that to Daddy and more. You're leading the way. How's the first half of the race for you here at Indy?
It's been pretty good. It's been a bit of a long half, but I don't know how much speed I have. I'm not really sure how much I can hang. I'm honestly surprised on where I'm at, I'll tell you the truth. So I say up towards the front for these next 40 laps and just hang around towards the end. The last 5 laps is where we're going to make your money, so I'm just going to hang on until then.
That's the thoughts of Devin West as we get ready for the restart. The first half has been interesting, Justin and Greg. The second half should be another interesting story as we get ready to decide who will be the winner to kiss the yard of bricks here this Monday night with the Northwestern Cup Series.
Thank you very much, Wesley, as we get all set to go for the second half of tonight's action. An eventful first 40. The second 40 will see Devin West and Dan West Jr. bring us back to the green flag. Chris White, Stephen O'Hare, Katie Anderson, John Ottenbacher amongst the drivers inside the top 6. Pace car is off. The son controls the field. The father watches as the green flag waves for West Family Racing.
A little bit of a stack up in the middle of the field, but nothing too bad as Devin able to break away from the field a little bit. Dan West Jr. trying to reel him back in. His first side-by-side battle is back here now for the 4th spot between the 41 of O'Hare and the 37 of Caden Anderson. Anderson creeping through the field. He has gone from 21st. He's now in 4th.
So a bit of shuffling already. Katie Anderson being aggressive to get by that 41 machine, to say the very least on the bottom side. Tidrick also back up to P6 with a good jump. Keep in mind, some of these drivers still have faster pairs banked if they have trouble. Particularly keep that in mind for the 89 of John Ottenbacher, who still has that damage on the front nose.
Ottenbacher has done so good with that damage on the nose as well, trying to get up there and hang in there with Tidrick right now, but he's kind of lost touch with him. That's bringing Carl Burke back into the picture, but Ottenbacher, very impressive what he's been able to do so far, still maintaining that 7th position.
See him losing touch a little bit down the straightaways, yes, but has been able to reel back on some of the corners. Has trouble behind him. Pinballed around is Joshua Marcy. The 35 brings out the caution flag after door-to-door contact, this time with Stephen Paulison, after the 58 got loose. See here on the replay, this has been a trouble spot now in these past few restarts, Greg.
Just some contact right there. Paulson checked up a little bit, and unfortunately Marcy just had all the momentum in the world, and it just sent him into the inside wall. And that brings out our caution once again. And we've talked about Marcy a little bit this season. Hasn't been in the league a whole lot, but he's been very impressive. A quiet night, though, so far. And now he's going to have to come in and use that faster pair.
A lot of the newcomers for tonight's race, making some of the first starts in the history of the Northwest Cup Series for them, have had rough ones for comparison's sake. Orovich did not make it to the green flag. One of 2 DNSs tonight. Jeffrey Hagan driving with this significantly damaged left front, 2 laps to make it 6 laps down for the 28 machine. And the last of that roofing is still Rick Heffley. In the 62, he's kept his car clean, should note, up to 19th position after starting at the back of the field.
Good job by Rick Heffley in his first start of the season in the number 62. It's been a great run for him here tonight, trying to keep it clean and up in the top 20 now, trying to keep the nose clean for the rest of the way. Not a bad way to come out for your 2020 debut, Justin.
Indeed, everyone lined up behind the pace car once again, ran about another 3/4 of a lap, if that, on that run, about 1 1/4 should say. About 9 laps in total on the stint, including the pace laps this time by, and going to be close on the fuel if drivers elect to top off. We'll see if anyone ducks on down on the front straightaway. The OSR TV machines taking the peak. The answer again, no for the son. Yes, a pit stop for Dan West Jr. Wesley.
Dan West Jr., father comes to pit road. Son will stay out again on a psych job. But son, I think Daddy's about to take you to school. Here comes Daddy West Jr. all onto the pit lane, including everyone else with Chris White, Tidrick, Brightsman, all coming to their pit stalls ready to either take on 2 tires, 4 tires, and I think fuel could be filled up for one more time, and they could take this race to the finish. Right side tires going on Tidrick and Dan West Jr. Brightsman in his pit stall. So he missed his pit stall, overshot, had to back up just a little bit. Paulison's on pit road. Here they come on the pit road exit. Dan West Jr. in first, exit first on the apron of pit lane coming off. Everyone else, he'll tag behind son Devin. And of course, the other cars that stayed out. It looks like Devin West will stay in the lead. O'Hare will stay in second. Burke third. Kevin Smith. It looks like, wow. Where will we see Dan West Jr. cycle back around to the top 10 behind the Catman of James Vining? So at least 10 cars did not come to pit road here on this last sequence of caution pit stops, Justin.
Interesting call by some of the drivers, to say the very least. And it was mentioned by Wesley there, Greg. This is a call to make it to the end on fuel for those drivers safely. The others, it could get tight where they would need a caution precaution kind of situation for at least a couple times, Greg, for them to make it.
But fortunately, Justin, it has been a caution precaution type race thus far, as we're just over halfway through this race and we're already, I think this is what, caution number 6, number 7. So it's kind of been that way. We had the 2 7-lap runs at the start of the race. Since then, it's been difficult to get past 5 laps. So maybe that's what these drivers up front are thinking. They're thinking, hey, this race has been caution precaution. Maybe it'll stay this way for the second half.
Hey, Justin, I just checked in with the crew on the LSR TV team. That's exactly what Dan West Jr. and the crew just said. They said, Wesley, this was the pit stop to fill the tanks and to take it to the house unless we have more cautions, because let's be honest, Justin, you're still going to burn fuel under yellow flag, but what if they go into overtime? That might come into a scenario here where they have to take off and get more fuel, at least for a splash and go if need be. Wow.
That's actually a really great point to bring up too, based on just the way this race has flowed tonight. So we'll have to see how this is all going to play out. 35 laps to go when the green flag flies once again. Devin West, Stephen O'Hare, Carl Burke, Kevin Smith, Brett Johnson, Bruce Lee Weaver, Jeff Stabnow, the birthday boy, Sean Brightsman, Dan Leather, James Vining, all elected to stay out on this caution flag. And by the way, Greg, Bruce Lee Weaver with this call back up inside the top 6.
Yeah, he is 3rd row outside. Bruce Lee Weaver, after being caught up in that accident, back up to 6th after staying out for a couple laps trying to catch a caution to stay on the lead lap, and it worked out for him, and here he is back in the top 6.
Curious how this again plays out. Not too many laps on these tires. Should note for the drivers who stayed out, there are 2 different cycles of the amount of fuel though. Bruce Lee Weaver, Sean Brightsman, Jeff Stabnow, Dan Lowther, James Vining had hit on the second to last caution. The others had been staying out the past few caution flags for the past 10 laps or so in this race. So we'll have to see which strategy pays off, or if the trends continue the way they've been going so far. Pace car dropping off this time by Devin West in control of the field. Back to racing again for the Brickyard.
Good run by Devin West on the initial start. His father is buried deep in traffic, so Devin's going to have to try to break away and get up there to keep away from his dad. Bruce Lee Weaver with a big crossover to the inside there. Weaver's going to get a 2 for 1 as he goes to 4th, but for how long as Sean Brightsman's to his outside.
Yeah, Kevin Smith must have had something with the gearing. Did not get up through the gears to 3rd quickly. Near contact behind Smith as the top drivers try and shuffle around. One driver hard to the inside. That's Jeff Stabnow. Jeff Stabnow off the racing line.
Hard in the inside wall, driver's side door, and he is not going to be able to catch a caution, so he is going to try to keep it going. He's going to have to long way back around. That number 24, the birthday boy, definitely not a happy camper right now.
That was with Kevin Smith, the 00 coming off of turn 2. Everyone else has shuffled single file for the time being. Devin West looking to hold on. Brightsman in P2. O'Hare, Weaver, Burke. The shuffling inside the top 5. Dan West Jr. back to P8 after that restart as well.
Powell breaking for the 3rd spot. 2 guys who we've been keeping our eyes on with differing strategies. Stephen O'Hare and Bruce Lee Weaver, and they both push up the track there in turn number 2, which allows Carl Burke into the picture. Carl Burke trying to break up now into the 4th position, trying to bring Kevin Smith with him. But that's your first side-by-side battle. It's for 4th going into turn 3.
Weaver losing the bottom side. Burke moving the Leon's muffler machine to the bottom of the racetrack.
Look at behind them, 3 wide. Dan West Jr., a 2-for-1 special on Lowther and Kevin Smith. Great move by Dan West Jr.
Remember, he also took the tires. Only a couple laps difference in green flag run. But West Jr. has been very strong pace-wise, has one of the fastest laps of the race. As once again, Kevin Smith shuffled onto the top side.
The 00 of Kevin Smith, we know how much speed he has in the 00, but the racing luck just hasn't been there, and here he is kind of stuck on the outside. Ooh, Tidrick had a run, but he caught the apron a little bit and had to back out of it. Now Smith able to get a run to the inside of Lowther with Caden Anderson right up there, but Kevin Smith, a lot of speed in that 00, just hasn't been able to put it together in the race yet, Justin.
Does have a little bit of grazing on the left front fender, but the car's been very clean. Seems to be sliding on the corner exit as he shut the door hard on BJ Tidrick, nearly chopped off his nose.
A great job there by Tidrick to avoid running into it. Up front, Spritzman is beginning to sniff the bumper of Devin West. It's down to a 1/10 of a second, but Spritzman kind of just holding in there right now. Not really making a move, not losing ground, not gaining ground, just kind of hanging in there right now, sizing up his opponent, going to school, and trying to figure out his move.
Now it becomes the question with this. Do you pounce if you're Brightsman, or do you try and save just in case you do get the long run? Because the longest run of the race so far, for comparison's sake, about 8 laps.
Pounce now, get the clean air, and try to go on defense if you can. And Brightsman, we know he's not one to shy away from some bold strategies. So if I'm Brightsman, I think he's going to make a move for the lead here soon.
These two are pulled away now by almost 2 seconds from O'Hare. Dan West Jr. has already made his way up through the grid. As now on lap number 50, these drivers getting ready for what should be an interesting run towards the finish. 30 to go this upcoming time by. Let's quickly run through the top 10 at the moment. First, Devin West up in the lead with Sean Brightsman in P number 2. They continue to try and scrap it out and run away for the rest of the group. Well, Stephen O'Hare holds on to the top 3. Dan West Jr.'s in 4th. Bruce Lee Weaver just got shuffled out to P6. After Caden Anderson made the pass to the bottom, Carl Burke also shuffling back Weaver back to P number 7. Kevin Smith, Chris White rounds out your top 10 gray.
Coming up in the 11th spot right now is Dan Lowther. Very good recovery for the number 63 after a couple of moments earlier in the race. He was in the fast repair. He's hanging tight, trying to get around Kevin Smith now for the 11th spot. You've got the 32 of Seth Frazier, who got around Lowther to move into the top 10. Kevin Smith now being scored in the 10th position. Brett Johnson back in 13th right now. Battle for the lead breaking out as Brightsman has decided to make his move. He will clear him off turn 2.
So Sean Brightsman got a good run coming off turn number 1 in the short chute. West gave him the space, and now Brightsman, the control car. Traffic is up the road. That's Jeffrey Hagan, who's been having a rough debut in the Summit Racing Equipment machine. But based on the fuel numbers that we've already heard throughout this race, and if this race goes green, remember, they work together a little bit for the respective cars. Do you think they are going to end up trying to draft their way together, or do you think Brightsman's just going to try and run away?
Brightsman's going to try to keep that clean air as long as he can, and he's probably going to try to draft with Devin West, whether Devin wants to or not. I think wherever the 46 goes, he's going to try to keep that number 5 in his tire tracks, and he's pulling away, though, so maybe not. Maybe he's trying to pull away from Devin West. Meanwhile, Dan West Jr. is up to 3rd, and he's trying to reel in his son to get up there in the 2nd, and he is flying right now in that 55 car.
Clear on by as these drivers continue to shuffle around inside. 30 laps to go at this point of the race. And remember, Dan West Jr. and Caden Anderson good on the fuel. BJ Chidrick would be the 3rd position driver in that group. Chris White is in P8 on the racetrack and P4 in that grouping as well, in a fight with Carl Burke, who was one of the drivers who stayed out the past couple cautions.
Justin, Caden Anderson, his car got really loose in turn number 3 there. Did a good job keeping it off the wall, but Caden Anderson in the 4th spot, fighting a loose race car. Remember, he said that before the race started. He was not happy with how loose the car was. Seems to have come to him a little bit, but you can tell it's still just putting up a little bit of a fight on corner exit.
Behind him in backdrop, you may have seen a poke around the lap traffic. Carl Burke had to go 3 wide with Jeffrey Hagan in turn 1 after trying to play defense with Seth Frazier, nearly blocked into the inside wall for making the pass. Speaking of passes, Dan West Jr. just making the pass just up the road for P2.
Got around Devin West, got to run through the short chute of turn 1 and 2, set it up and fought down the entire backstretch to make the pass on his son Devin. So Dan West Jr. back up into the 2nd spot, led about the 1st quarter of this race, Justin, and now has been shuffled back with differing drivers taking differing strategies. This is the first time the 55 has really been able to get a long run to stretch the legs and get back up in the 2nd.
We talked about Caden Anderson. It's a plus 17 after a struggle in qualifying. Wesley, you're standing by with an update on him.
Yeah, remember Caden Anderson? We talked about him. Car wicked loose, tied in, loose off the center. Couple of laps, he's slipping and sliding like he's on a greasy slope. Well, listen to this. About 10 laps, he has a good run. The car is good. He's happy with the machine. Then a few moments ago, I just spoke with him, and he says within the last 2 laps, the car has got tight again. I'm comfortable with the car on the restarts. I'm loving using the tires up, but then it seems like 10 laps later or so, Justin and Greg, his car tightens up because you already seen him lose ground on the pack behind the number 5 of Devin West. He's got to try to find a way to stop that problem and keep an eye on BJ Tidrick, the Darlington winner, the pole car. He is starting with no bull to come back to the front.
Hurley is about 2 seconds back of the lead group. Thank you very much, Wesley, as we take a look at him. Hurley trying to hold off Chris White. O'Hare's also been shuffled back. Seth Frazier also closing in on this grouping. So Tidrick again has been having this strong recovery drive again after the incident. And he's one of the drivers, mind you, who are currently in that window to make it on fuel, one of the quickest cars on the track. He is around the same pace, if not quicker, than Anderson, and slowly closing back into top 4.
He's been running very strong all day, Justin. Started on the pole, up in the top 5 after being caught up in the incident. But remember...
Oh, trouble! Brett Johnson spins down louder. Multiple other cars crashing down to the short chute in turn 3. And the caution flag is back out. The big one at the Brickyard. And wow, as you've seen on the replay, that was Johnson knocking down the wall after contact with the 00 in the left rear and collecting at least 4, 5 plus cars.
Corey Walters involved. I saw James Vining shoot down to the wall in the inside. Frank Harris squeaking through. John Ottenbacher having to go to the pit road access to get onto or get through that one. So quite a few cars caught up in this one.
Wild ride for James Vining in his red 333. Several barrel rolls, as you see on the replay, after contact, bouncing off the wall and a fellow car, ramming him on the right side. The 333 already used a fast repair in this race. So throw the fuel strategy out the window, because for some of the drivers who stayed out during this caution, of a few cautions like Devin West, like Stephen O'Hare, like Carl Burke, the gamble just paid off, Greg.
It worked out, and Justin, that was the longest green flag run we've had. That was the first run all day to reach the 10 lap mark. So now the question is not who's coming in and who's not, it's who's gonna gamble and take 2 tires. Wesley, coming to you.
Pit stop time, gentlemen. Sean Breitzman will bring the Team LSR TV top 3 behind West Jr., West Son, all down the pit lane. They're going to come and make pit stops. So is Anderson. Anderson's car has been pretty good. Mitchin, Tidrick, and White. Frazier, O'Hare, every one of the top 10. Carl Burke, after his issues, has climbed the top 10 ladder as well, and Brees Lee Weaver to boot, all coming in. Again, as Justin reiterated on, throw the fuel window out of the playbook now, as it looks like they're all going to fill up the tanks, take on tires. Nobody going for 2 tires. They're going to take on 4. Nobody entering the pits yet or exiting the pits just yet, and now they do, led by West. Devin West out of pit road. Anyone else going to come as they race off the pit exit? Sean Breitzman entered first, exits first in 46. Along behind him, the other Team LSR TV cars of Dan West Jr. and Devin West. We've also caught up with the cat man of James Vining, who had that crazy flip virtual here at Indianapolis. James, what happened there on the back straightaway that caused the big one?
It looks like somebody got in the wall. I'm not sure which number it was, but then they came across and I got into it and then hit the wall. And it looks like it tore the right front tire off, and then I rolled for a while. So it's pretty much ended my run tonight.
And I will say this, before this happened to you, your car seemed pretty strong, staying in the top 15 most of the way.
Yeah, I was trying. I had used my fast repair earlier when one other car got in the wall and then it messed up my nose. So if I had my fast repair still, I'd still be in it. But it happens sometimes.
And guys, I've also been informed that Brett Johnson has exited. He's done for the race as well. So a tough break there for James Vining. James, are we going to see you in the Stone Cold truck on Thursday night?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I said, just going to say, that gives me time to go work on my setup for that one. So
there you go.
Next.
He'll be ready to go. And gentlemen, as we get ready to set up for the restart, coming up on, what is the less than 23 laps to go to the finish here at the Brickyard. We will also, Thursday night, have the Northwestern iRacing Truck Series, myself in the booth, along with Greg Rentz on the call. That is at 10:45 Eastern time, or actually Central, 11:45 Eastern, my time, on LSR TV from Indianapolis. It should be fun seeing what the trucks can do.
Should be very fun indeed, as now 1 to go signal is out. 22 laps to go this time by. It's Sean Breitzman, Dan West Jr., Devin West, BJ Tidrick, Caden Anderson, Chris White, Stephen O'Hara, Carl Burke, Ross Jr., and Seth Frazier inside the top 10. So the biggest droppers in that pit stop window, by the way, Seth Frazier elected to fix damage for an extra 5 or so seconds in the 32, shuffling him back from where he was in the top 5 to the top 10. In our words, Greg, this is, again, now going to likely come down to the short run pace, and this could be in, say, drivers like Caden Anderson's wheelhouse.
Caden Anderson needed a short run to be able to get up there, because he talked about it with Wesley that his car was not happy on the long run. He needed a short run, and this could come out to his advantage if he can get up there, gain a couple of spots on this run, and catch another caution here in a little bit.
As well, who else are you keeping your eye on? Because my eye, I think in part, Greg, is that 72 is up to 4th.
Yeah, Tidrick has done so good in that number 72. Love the throwback feel of it in the number 72, the Winston Noble car, up to 4th after starting on the pole. Great effort tonight out of BJ. He's slowly becoming one of the hottest drivers in the series right now, Justin.
He compared this track to fit his driving style to what he was able to do at Darlington. One of the biggest victories of the season. We'll see how things fare for him and the rest of the cars. With 22 to go, Sean Breitzman hits the gas, back to racing.
Good start by Devin West to hang in there with Breitzman on this initial go. He might be able to clear his dad going into turn number 1. Devin West, he is going to clear Dan West Jr. and Caden Anderson's going to try to poke in there also, but West Jr. shuts the door. But how about Devin West able to clear Dan for second?
Indeed, the question is, will they switch back if there's a run for Dan West Jr.? Caden Anderson also with a good jump. BJ Tidrick single file the rest of the field, 2-3 wide in the midst of the battles. So continue to scrap along, to say the very least.
West Jr. trying to poke it in the second spot, but boy, oh boy, there's a hornet's nest back there around the 15th position, and Paulson putting pressure on Bruce Lee Weaver, who has unfortunately fallen out of the top 10 after the gamble was paying off for a while on the 40 car. Unfortunately, he's dropping him out of the top 10 for the time being. He's coming after Carl Burke right now, who has fallen to 10th, trying to get back in there.
Unscheduled pit stop for John Ottenbacher. Caught over the radio last time by. He was going to pit. He was in 17th spot. So unscheduled stop for the 89. Up towards the front, though. Sean Breitzman slipping and sliding off the corner exit as everyone's rolling back in.
Caution is out. Paulson got hit from behind and collected the field.
3 drivers at least involved, including Kevin Smith. And just like that, another quick yellow.
And who does this benefit? Caden Anderson, the 37, gained the spot. Now he's going to have a shot to gain another one on another short run.
Seeing the replay there, it looked like, Greg, that Paulson just got loose, just similar to what Brightsman had at the very front of the field.
Yeah, he just broke out there. And that's a tough break for him, but man, oh man. This late in the race, you're seeing it more. Cautions are beginning to breed cautions once again after we had one long green flag run. Now we're back to the cautions breed cautions again.
So under 20 laps to go now in this race with the result of a caution flag, about a lap or two ran on the tires. Still, be intriguing how this all plays out again. The luckiest driver in that incident, by the way, it's been a season of bad luck for Frank Harris. He was that silver and black car we seen go right through the very edge of the track of the bottom groove to just avoid the pin pot effect of some of the cars, Greg.
Yeah, definitely, Justin. It's been so sensitive with that. Like, you get just the slightest out of shape, all of a sudden you're like the pinball, like you said, you're bouncing around all over the place trying to keep it straight, and suddenly things are going from good to bad in a hurry. And we just saw it once again. 3 cars caught up in that one, and there were a couple of cars that had quite a bit of speed in the early going. Kevin Smith and Joshua Marcy was involved in that as well.
Indeed, and remember, Marcy was involved in an earlier incident. Kevin Smith already back and rolling with the faster pair. Are they going to come down? Answer is no. No one hits the commitment cone, and the first pit stops are outside the top 12. That was with Corey Walters, who was in the incident, Wesley.
Psych, nobody wants to come join me on pit road except the men in the back, including Walters, Stabnow, all coming in for pit stop. Sonnenbacher, we mentioned him, a great run for the 89 LSR TV entry. Then he got caught up in an accident. He struggled. He was actually coming in for an unscheduled pit stop a few moments ago, and now they're all on the pit lane making service. Jeff Stabnow again right now in the number 15 position for the birthday boy, 48 years old, out of Montana here today. Brightsman, West and West, Anderson. You guys, we talked about Anderson. These cautions, I feel, are working in his favor because, as he said, when he gets back to green, gets back to the whip, his car lasts about a good 10 laps before he starts tightening up. So this is all working good for the 37, I believe. And Tidrick back in the saddle again. He had that caution, came back in the top 5. Gentlemen, anybody in the top 10's got a shot to win this thing here at the Brickyard.
I think so too, absolutely, Wesley, as Joshua Marcy officially out of the race after that incident. Jeffrey Hagan, the lucky dog, in P26. That car is 10 laps down, so for the newcomer in Jeffrey Hagan, the motto's been never give up, despite the fact he's got no front nose, a damaged fuel intake in the left rear, and a wholly demolished back end.
Plenty of damage to go around in this one, and this is such a tough break because a lot of these drivers, Justin, had to use the fast repair early in the race, and now they're caught up in other incidents. So that's why you're seeing all these drivers with all that damage out. They had to use the fast repair early in this track so big, this race so long, that it has just been an up and down day for them. And here we are, we're just past 3/4 of the way through this one, and several drivers already using the fast repair and already with damage again.
Back to 1 to go again, 17 to go. This time by with the green flag. Brightsman, Devin West, Dan West Jr., Kid Anderson, BJ Tidrick, the top 5. Chris White's up to P6. O'Hare, Ross Jr., Frazier, and Burke round out the top 10. And the drivers that showed the most speed throughout this entire event include drivers like the 46, the 55. We'll see how they play this out. Wesley, though, you have an update from pit lane.
Yeah, you know how we thought that James Vining, the Catman, was out of the race? Just understanding that the crew just told him that they're going to try to get him back out there and at least try to get some more laps for the points for at least a couple of positions to gang out of here. So he's going to try to come back out on the racetrack. Might be a little bit damaged, but he will try to at least salvage as many positions as he can for the points championship. And the Catman will be back in the 333.
Vining came into tonight P22 in the point standings with 1 top 5 and 3 top 10s. But the last race crossed over the 1,000 laps recorded threshold. Thank you very much, Wesley. See how this all plays out in this grouping once again. Brightsman looking to hold on. Devin West been quick all night. Dan West Jr. has led many laps. Anderson looking to say hello to the front. Could be anyone's race in the next 17 laps of the Brickyard.
Brightsman gonna have the advantage of the inside with the leader's advantage, but Devin West has been so strong on these restarts, Justin. This is going to be very intriguing to see how this goes. Remember, these guys are all on a little bit older tires.
3 drivers who work together in the same grouping. The OSR TV machine of Sean Brightsman with the 7 count. Green flag is out, back to racing. Brightsman with a good jump. Devin West with a good timing.
Anderson hanging in there as well in the 4th spot, trying to push Devin West up there. 2 drivers on the outside who are looking for their first Cup Series wins, but 2 of the most experienced and winningest drivers in series history inside. Give it to Brightsman this time as they come up through turn 2.
Single file inside the top 5. Lots of scrapping for about 6 or 7 on back. Door baiting, in fact, for the end of the top 10. Seth Frazier and Carl Burke just traded paint off too.
Definitely getting feisty back here mid-pack as these guys know it is time to go as we're in the final quarter of this race. Everyone's good on fuel. It's go time here in this one, trying to get up and gain as many spots as you can. Frazier outside, Burke inside. Meanwhile, we haven't talked about Bill Ross Jr. a whole lot. He's up in the 7th spot going in right now. Just lost it to 8th to Stephen O'Hare, but Bill Ross a very quiet top 10 run.
Battle for the lead is on to the end of turn 1. Devin West with a huge burst of speed. Had to check up as Brightsman right on top of the right rear tire nearly snaps it off in the short chute again.
West taking a peek off turn number 2, trying to get to the inside. Crossover goes high. Couple of cars down on the apron. Looks like Brucey Weaver and others in turn number 2. We stay green and we've got side by side for the lead.
Off into turn 3, Brightsman and Devin West tangling. Brightsman kept the bottom and did hold on to the lead. Everyone in that back grouping still able to keep it straight as well. James Vine has also returned to the track in 24th position. But 15 laps to go this time by, and the whole top 5 covered by just half a second at the head of the field.
Unbelievable sight seeing 5 cars scream down the front stretch that close together in a draft. Unbelievable to see it all unfold here on LSR TV, and LSR TV is in the top 3 right now. Brightsman, West, and West Jr. all their top 3. Brightsman a little bit of a slide, but he had a great run through turn 2 there, Justin.
His best turn 2 exit for the past few times. The previous times, he had been slipping and sliding. Able to grow the gap to nearly 3/10. Everyone else staying inside the choo-choo train. BJ Tidrick also staying in the draft. O'Hare at the very edge of it, as well as contact. Devin West snaps into the wall. Right front damage for the 5 car, losing P2. Make it P3 as well as Anderson's to the bottom.
Anderson trying to get the run. Devin West, one of the fastest cars all day, suddenly hits the wall, and then he's going to fall from 2nd and battling for the lead to 4th. Now in trouble of losing 5th to Chris White. He is going to fall to 5th. So Devin West 2nd to 5th in one shot there after hitting the wall.
What a time for that type of mistake. See if how long he can try and hold on to the track position. Has a faster pair in hand. Remember, many of these drivers have kept their cars clean throughout the race. But here comes the slipstream train. Everyone trying to break up the draft down the back once again.
Trying to get up there. BJ Tidrick, though, is catching up to this draft as he's been able to catch the slipstream of the 5 of Devin West. He's able to close up in here, trying to make it a 6-car train up front. Sean Brightsman has opened up about a half a second lead last time by. We'll see what it is this time as Brightsman trying to pull away, but he's got Dan West Jr. out there. 2 of the most winningest drivers in series history, 1st and 2nd. Caden Anderson in 3rd, looking for his first ever win.
For Sean Brightsman, we talked about this after his incredible upset with the 2-tire call at Dover. Just 7 victories away from Mark Walls for the all-time wins leaders in the Northwest Racing Series. Jeff Stapp now his fellow competitor and teammate, 35 wins. And Dan West Jr., by the way, is inside that top 5 grouping. Some of the best drivers in the history of this series. All covered under that Trent blanket of 6 cars now in a choo-choo train with 12 to go this time.
But they're spread out a little bit, Justin, evenly spread out, unlike what we saw a few laps ago where they were nose to tail. They're all spread out a little bit, but just enough to where they can still draft off each other. So we'll see who can get the first big run here as we close in on the final 10 laps of this one. Who's going to get the first big run? Looks like it's going to be the 55 as he got a great run into turn 1.
Gained nearly 0.2 of a second with the pole down the straightaway. Bit of a clip to the inside curbing though for West Jr. Still slides up and stays within the draft. About 0.3 of a second the gap amongst these drivers. This group of cars in the top 6 have been able to stay within 1.6 seconds of Sean Brightsman. Everyone else has fallen 3.7 seconds back or more.
Battle for 5th breaking out between BJ Tidrick and Devin West. Tidrick got the run going down the backstretch but wasn't able to get it. Meanwhile, up there in 3rd, I think Caden Anderson may have scraped the wall just a little bit on the corner exit in turn 3. Remember what we talked about, the car goes away on the long run and we're starting to creep up on long run territory here for this one. He may have caught the wall and Chris White was able to close in. Dan West Jr. has closed in on Brightsman. A couple 2-car tangos going on here right now.
Group is now down to 4 as Devin West nearly smacked the wall in the short chute this time by in 1 and 2. Tidrick just took away P5 in the backdrop. Here comes West Jr. 53 flat last time by. Brightsman a 53.2.
Brightsman trying to hang on there to keep West Jr. at bay. Caden Anderson has fended off the battle from Chris White. Now trying to hang on once again as again he caught close to the wall in turn number 3, and this time Chris White's going to be able to capitalize and move up against the nose in front. White trying to get up there. Tidrick had a hard time getting around Devin West, was able to, but has lost over a second to these guys. White able to clear Anderson for 3rd.
That's lost in the draft. 10 laps to go at the Brickyard. Brightsman still holds on. Dan West Jr. slower last time by. Brightsman the quickest driver on the track. At that previous lap, nearly smacks the wall, has to check up. Here comes Dan West Jr. Block from Brightsman to the bottom of the track. Dan West Jr. up to the top side for the race lead.
Outside for Dan West Jr. Brightsman with a big dive into turn number 1, able to keep him at bay. He will keep him back there for now, but Dan West Jr. had a really good run. Here comes Chris White. Don't look now. Chris White looking for his first win of the season. He's hungry. He got a good run there as West Jr. broke loose off of turn 4.
So many times in 2020 as Chris White come close to victory in the Cup Series. 9 laps to go. Who will kiss the brakes as Dan West Jr. checks out of the corner entry? Brightsman still able to defend.
Good run by Dan West Jr. into turn number 1 there. Able to get up on Brightsman, but this is bringing both White and Anderson back into the fray. Caden Anderson able to hold on. BJ Tidrick has lost touch. It's 2 seconds back to the leader, but these 4 cars beginning to heat up.
Anderson now within the draft of 7/8 of a second for the leaders. Backed off throughout the short chute. Top 3 all within a car length apiece.
Anderson lost touch there off of turn number 2, lost some ground, so now he's got to go back on offense to try to get back up there. For the time being, 3-car breakaway, Anderson and West Jr. 3 cars up there at the front. You see Brightsman trying to break the draft, and Dan West Jr. saying, no sir, I'm going to stay in your tire tracks until I can get the move, which he's got now going to turn 1.
West Jr. trying to peak on the high side. Brightsman with the bobble off the corner. Check up from West Jr. Peak from Chris White. Bump from the back end from White on West Jr. Another block for Brightsman down the back.
Good run by West Jr. Outstanding defense by Brightsman, and this is allowing Chris White to get up and make his move. Chris White to the outside now of Dan West Jr. Closing stages here at the Brickyard. West Jr. peaking high again. Opens the inside for Chris White. Chris White has a shot at second.
West Jr. loses the bottom. Chris White takes advantage. Toyota, Ford, Chevy inside the top 3. Anderson in 4th for the Chevy. A Ford rounds out the top 5. 7 to go at Indy.
Chris White able to clear Dan West Jr. Now goes to work on Sean Brightsman. Remember the Kansas race a few weeks ago. Brightsman trying to hold on to Chris White like he did at Kansas. The final margin of victory was a 1/10 of a second that time. Chris White remembers that. He has a shot at redemption right here.
Another checkup off the corner for Brightsman. Good run for Chris White. Nearly off into the grass. The Amsoil Ford peaks to the high side into turn 3.
White tries the outside, can't get it this time. Tucks back in behind Brightsman. Now taking a peek to the inside. He may have him on the short shoe here, Justin. He did a great job on the crossover there. Side by side for the race lead.
Brightsman, though, gets the run off the corner. Brightsman scrapes the wall, no damage, 6 to go. West Jr. still trying to defend for P3, and this is allowing BJ Tidrick and Devin West to reel in. They've gained half a second the past 2 laps.
They're trying to close in. I don't know if they have enough time, though. They're going to need a caution, I think, but Brightsman has done an outstanding job keeping White at bay. Meanwhile, Dan West Jr. and Caden Anderson have caught back up. Anderson peeking low on West Jr. now, trying to get the 3rd spot. Good effort by Caden Anderson after fighting back after losing touch. BJ Tidrick staying in the slipstream of Anderson, where Devin West stays high as they come down. Different strategies trying to get back up here to the front, but BJ Tidrick closing in a little bit. I just don't know if he has enough time, but Anderson, he might have a shot here with Westbrook Cruz.
West Jr. losing a bit of touch once again. Brightsman clips the curb in turn 4. Chris White with a run. Brightsman with a block. White to the high side. Side by side, high five for the flagman, this time by 5 laps to go. As the OSR TV Toyota Camry able to defend the bottom.
Where did Dan West Jr. come from? Got a huge run on Chris White, and White was able to go on defense and get a great run of his own off of turn number 1 there. He may have him off turn number 2 here. Justin Brightsman's going to have to nail this turn perfectly. Off of turn 2, no, Chris White not quite clear, but he has the nose in front. Now he clears him, but Brightsman able to cross over, and he has help from Dan West Jr.
First time tonight, Chris White has led in this race. Dan West Jr. trying to take advantage, gets the trap for P2. Brightsman gives him the space. Make it Ford, Chevy, Toyota in the top 3 with 4 to go this time.
White able to pull away now. We'll see how he can set it up, though. I think he may have too big a lead, especially with the fact that they have been able to get up nose to tail again, and BJ Tidrick entering the chat as well. He has caught up to Caden Anderson as he's trying to make a move here late. Closing stages at the brickyard, and it is wild. 5 cars for the race win.
Dan West Jr. smacks into the wall. Brightsman back to the bottom side. West Jr. trying to keep it up on the top side. Locks up the left side wheel. Anderson now makes the move. Here comes BJ Tidrick now looking for the top 3.
A lot of damage to the 55 of West Jr. and Tidrick trying to 2 for 1 to try to get Anderson. Brightsman as well. 2 former winners of the Northwest Tour, along with the admin of that series, BJ Tidrick, and Tidrick up to 3rd, trying to clear Caden Anderson. Devin West closing in now as well. Tidrick able to clear Anderson for the time being. West Jr. not going away just yet, but meanwhile, Chris White scooting away, trying to get as big a lead as he can to try to keep him at bay for just a couple more laps. 3 to go at the line.
So many times this season we've talked about Chris White being a factor in many of the races. Switch from Chevrolet to Ford. Earlier this campaign, found good momentum in the Mustang. Came close at Kansas. Came close at multiple other tracks. Now, with 2.5 laps to go, this could be the biggest victory of his entire career with the Northwest Racing Series. 1.4 seconds of the gap with 2.5 laps left.
Several wins in the Xfinity Series and Truck Series over the years for Chris White, but he has never won a Northwest Cup race. He is 2.25 laps away from changing that, but he's got to keep it focused on what's in the windshield. He's got a big enough lead over Brightsman right now that he can focus purely on what's going on. Candlesticks in the hand, 2 laps to go for Chris White in the 83 battle between the West family for 5th.
They're side by side. Across the start and finish line with 2 laps to go. Both drivers with matching damage. Dan West Jr. gives the space to Devin West. So move Devin West back into the top 5. Don't look now. The birthday boy Jeff Stout now has also reeled these drivers in. and he's been the fastest driver of the track by as much as a second in some cases during this run.
Stabnow coming out of nowhere. Caden Anderson with a big slide off turn number 1 that time. Stabnow closing in, trying to bring Stephen O'Hare with him, but Stephen O'Hare too far back. But Jeff Stabnow, a great recovery for that number 24. Dan West Jr. going back to work on Devin West, but the white flag is coming out to Chris White off of turn number 4 this time. 2.5 miles for Chris White as he comes off turn number 4.
Chris White gets the white flag this time by at the stand. He's broken the trap from Sean Brightsman. The Amsoil machine looking to have a happy 4th of July weekend, just 3/4 of a lap away from having an additional thing to celebrate.
Battle for second. This could seal the deal up for Chris White as BJ Tidrick goes to work on Sean Brightsman, trying to recover and get back up into second. The battle is going to be for the second spot. Brightsman able to pull away. Chris White scooting away up front.
Sean Brightsman able to pull the gap from BJ Tidrick. What a recovery run for the 72 machine after having contact for the top 5 in the first quarter of the race. Jeff Stabnow recovers to P6, but the story of the night will be for the 83 of Chris White. So many times he's come close in 2020 in the Cup Series. This time, he'll break into victory lane and kiss the bricks at the Brickyard. Chris White wins it at Indianapolis.
Great job by Chris White. So close so many times. The switch to Ford finally pays off. Chris White the winner.
Sean Brightsman holds on for second. BJ Tidrick, Caden Anderson, Devin West, the top 5. What a race. What a drive for Chris White.
Outstanding performance by Chris White, choosing the perfect time to make his way through the field and sliced and diced his way through. And once he got out front, it was smooth sailing for the 83. First win of the year for Chris White.
Still making his way around the track for celebration time. This locks him into the postseason. 0 for 14 on the season entering tonight. Now 1 for 15. As Jeff Gordon and Mike Joy joked about when Kevin Harvick won his first race ever at Pocono this weekend, 1 for 15 sounds better than 0 for 14, Greg.
Absolutely. Chris White getting that win, finally breaking the over, and most importantly, Justin, walked into the playoffs.
Celebration time.
Your 8th different winner on the season, I do believe, for
Yes.
Chris White. Joins Bill Ross Jr. and BJ Tidrick as drivers with 1 win on the season, and he is burning it down on the front stretch. Well deserved.
Chris White already smacked the wall in the burnout celebration, but a big victory for the 83 machine tonight. Let's take a look at your unofficial race results after the biggest victory for Chris White in 2020 and his Northwest Racing Series career. The gap at the checker flag, 1.5 seconds between White and Brightsman, with BJ Tidrick rounding up the top 3. We'll be standing by with them in just a few moments. Caden Anderson finished in 4th tonight with Devin West in P5. Jeff Stabnow struggled much of the race, but recovered to a 6th place finish with his fastest laps of the race. Dan West Jr. finished in 7th, Stephen O'Hare in 8th, Bill Ross Jr. and John Auenbacher quietly rounded out the top 10 grade.
Seth Frazier in the number 32 comes home 11th after leading some laps early. Tough break for him after the damage, never could fully recover. Corey Walters caught up in an incident as well. He comes home in 12th position. Talked about Carl Berg staying out early for the gamble. It pays off for a 13th finish at the end of the night. Ricky Bozer 14th. Daryl Tidrick, a couple of accidents, comes home on the lead lap in 15th. Kevin Smith, a lot of speed once again out of the 00, but he will come home in 16th. Bruce Lee Weaver, Dan Stussy, and Rick Heffley, the final cars on the lead lap. 19 cars finish on the lead lap. First car 1 lap down is Frank Harris in the 11 in 20th. Justin.
Only a 1 error driver, 1 lap down. That was Stephen Paulison, with Jeffrey Hagan finishing 9 laps down in 22nd in his debut. Could give credit to him for chugging along. Dan Lowther finished in 23rd. Joshua Marcy, a DNF in 24th. James Vining needed 1 more lap to gain that spot on the racetrack, by the way. They tie in terms of laps recorded for the race at 21 laps down. Brett Johnson, DNF 26, Roy Grande, Scott Hutchinson, James Thurston round out the 29 drivers who made it to the start. Ray Fournier, Dan Horovich did not take the green flag. They are recorded with fellow DNSs tonight. An exciting finish and an emotional victory tonight for Chris White here on LSR TV, your home for sim racing. A great performance, to say the very least, for the Clan Wars post-race show. Clan Wars, the official communication partner of LSR TV. Let's start off with your race winner tonight, Chris White. Let's check in with him. You finally did it, Chris, and you did it at the Brickyard. How does it feel to be a winner?
You know, it feels great. In all honesty, it's quite a while. It's been a long time coming, and it's good to finally get that win column checked and get that security as we move closer to the playoffs. Definitely helps for sure.
Talk us through those final laps, because it was just 5 laps led for you, but it took a lot of work to get around Sean Brightsman in the closing stages in that last run of the race.
Yeah, it was definitely some strategy there. You know, he was cutting to the inside to the outside, and I think I just kind of had to outmaneuver him and use some momentum to get on the outside of him, and I was eventually able to make that pass. But not sure if he had some older tires there or not. But I was just bad fast there at the end, and I think that momentum helped carry us around Sean and get ourselves out front there.
Now, overall, we've seen you come close so many times this season with several top 3 and even some second place finishes. Overall, what is the feeling like to finally break through in the Cup Series after going 0 for 14 to start the season and now being 1 for 15 in the win column?
Well, you know, today's been kind of frustrating. It's been a pretty upsetting day, and I was kind of contemplating even getting in the race tonight, but I did and persevered. And, you know, getting a win at any given time is it's a challenge. It's a tough series to run. These guys are tough to race against, and it doesn't come easy. It takes a lot of hard work, a lot of patience, and it's definitely, I can probably speak for everybody, it's definitely frustrating to go, you know, race after race and multiple races without winning. You know, you just kind of keep wondering, like, when's my turn? When am I going to get there? And you know, and when you get there, it's just a relief. It's a relief, and it's exciting to finally get there. And now I have that security for the playoff picture, and then we can just kind of take it easy and try to get a few more as we move forward.
Now, 4th of July weekend, it's an off week next, but you go to Las Vegas for July the 13th. Your thoughts on that racing and those at that track in the Cup Cars 100 laps, this current scheduled distance?
Hey, Vegas, I'm ready to go there. I'm ready to gamble. I've got to win there too, and it's a fun track for me too, and I'm looking forward to it, definitely.
Who do you want to thank for being a part of your first career Cup Series victory?
Certainly got to thank you guys, LSR TV, for the broadcasting. Great job there. And got to thank all the guys in the Northwest Racing Series. It's definitely fun to come out here and race. As challenging and competitive as it is, it's just a great place to come and enjoy a passion that's racing. And got to throw a shout out to Interstate Synthetics, my AMSOIL business that I'm doing. I got AMSOIL on the car with a happy 4th of July paint scheme there. So hopefully everybody has a great, fantastic, fun, and safe 4th of July this coming weekend. And throw it back to you guys. Appreciate it. And we'll see you guys in the next one.
Congratulations, Chris, on your first victory of 2020 in the Cup Series.
Appreciate it, guys. Got to throw a happy birthday out there to Jeff Stabnow.
A very happy birthday indeed for Jeff, and a very happy Chris White. I'd like to thank him for taking the time to speak with us. Now, standing by for your second place finisher tonight, Greg is with Sean Brightsman.
Yeah, Sean Brightsman, Greg Rents, LSR TV. Got a copy.
Gotcha, Greg.
Sean, that was the definition of an up and down race for you. Had its good moments, had its bad moments, and it ended off with a second place finish, man. Wild adventure for you here at the Brickyard tonight.
Absolutely. Definitely an up and down roller coaster. Whatever other analogies you want to use, it was all of them and above.
Well, talk to us first about that gamble early on the second caution, because we were talking about it in the press box here. We were kind of scratching our heads at taking 2 tires at that stage of the race, but hey, you made it work out for you.
Yeah, I was just trying to see Knowing Indy, it's line sensitive, and I mean it's a hot track, so we don't have as much grip. So I figured that was the time to kind of learn a little. So I figured I could give up and maybe finish on that run, maybe in the top 10 or just outside, and still would have been fine. So it's just a learning experience.
And then you got caught up in some trouble not too long after that. After it paid off for you, you were able to catch the caution there early, and then the very next caution came out a couple laps later. You were caught up in the incident there.
Yeah, we just kind of wrong place at the wrong time. Watched a couple cars, plow into the wall with the right front, and I was the unfortunate person that was coming up on them and just kind of nowhere to go for the most part. Wasn't sure which way they were going to go or what. So kind of lost control there, trying to get it back, and just kind of lost it there on the backstretch.
Well, you had a good recovery from that, getting up, leading a good chunk of the last battle. But man, oh man, tell us what was going through your head while you're leading that race, trying to keep everybody behind you when you had 5 cars right on your back bumper like that.
Oh, I was just trying to keep everybody far back as I could. I was hoping we could make a run and get a little gap, but Indy here's got too much draft on this front and back stretch, and it's so line sensitive. All it takes is one screw up, and they're all right there on your bumper again. So just trying to hold them back, trying to get them racing each other. That way I could kind of scoot away just a little bit.
Well, you definitely learned some lessons here tonight for the truck race right back here at Indianapolis on Thursday. Any particular lesson you're looking forward to bringing over to the trucks on Thursday?
Don't overdrive it in the last run.
All right, second place for Sean Breitzman, and we've gotten used to it, but we know the drill. Who you got on the car that you want to give a thanks to?
Thanks, Greg. I got to give a shout out to LSR TV for sponsoring the Toyota Camry tonight. Love having our purple chrome scheme, and got to give it up to Central Welding Supply and everybody at the Northwest Racing Series for coming out here and racing this fixed series and having a lot of fun doing it.
Always a pleasure, Sean. Second place tonight at the Brickyard. We'll see you back here on Thursday.
Thanks, Greg.
And I believe we're going back down where Justin Prince, I believe, has caught up with possibly the hottest driver in the Northwest Racing Series right now, BJ Tidrick in car number 72.
I believe it's actually Wesley that sprinted his way down towards that way, Wesley.
Wesley's down there.
Oh, yeah, I beat you to it. BJ Tidrick coming off of that big win at Darlington, that craziness a couple of weeks ago. You turn around and you redeem yourself after some bad luck at about the first half of this race. You come back and you're rallying for the win. What a strong car. No bull this 72 was, BJ Tidrick. Are you happy with a podium of third?
I am actually really ecstatic. I blew the whole start thing. I don't know if you guys noticed that or not, where they say go on green, and I went like not on green. I went way before green. Luckily, I didn't get a penalty. But no, I screwed up and I got into Breitzman and I turned myself around. I didn't wreck it. I was able to get some new tires and kind of come back through. And that was a tough battle, man. I mean, it's hard to set people up and time that run and not blow it, mistiming it and making a mistake there, getting free off the corner. But this whole league is just a stout, fun league to race against. You got guys up front like Dan West, Devin West, and Breitzman that are just. And I was just talking to Chris, the winner, and he's like, "Man, it feels really good to get one of these against those guys breathing down your neck." And I'm like, "Yeah, I had those guys breathing down my neck a couple weeks ago in Darlington, and it was just, it's nice to finally validate, everything you're working for."
I was going to say that same sentiments to you, BJ. I mean, you pretty much said, "Hey, I'm just going to run this one race." And then you win it. Then you're like, "I'm going to run this deal. I'm in the playoffs." You're already in the playoffs. So, you automatically know you got to run for the championship whenever that begins later on in the season. And you continue to gel. I mean, you had some bad luck at Dover last week after you had some success. I mean, this car is really, really strong. Can you tell us where the idea came from to have Mr. Excitement Jimmy Spencer's colors?
Well, first off, the first part, I'd actually ran not most of the season. I've ran some more races this year, but I'm so terrible that I'm one of those that you just don't even notice. Just
Oh,
kind of fool around there in the back. But actually, since I put this paint scheme on, I've been running a little bit better. I just like white and gold, and my own personal race cars are white and gold, and I just like the color of it, and I don't know. It says win on the front. What better thing to shoot for, you know?
for sure, definitely, man. Well, listen, I know that you have next Monday off as we are in observance for the 4th of July. Are we going to see you possibly get involved in the truck deal? Would we see you make a Thursday night truck run?
I've thought about it. It's kind of difficult with family stuff.
I got you.
And but you know, I do like doing the open setup stuff, and I've tested it a little bit. I just haven't bitten the bullet. But I might have to do something for they're racing here Thursday, right?
Thursday, right back here at the Brickyard. Yes, sir.
Man, I might have to. I just this track worked really well with my style, so you know what? Count me in on Thursday. I'll be back.
There you go. You heard it right here first, guys. On the Clan Wars Service post-race wrap-up, Greg and Justin, BJ Tidrick will have his truck ready. I'll be in the broadcast booth alongside Greg Rance. That is 11:45 Eastern, 10:45 Central, right here on your home for sim race at LSR TV from the Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
Thank you very much, Wesley. That was, again, your top three: Chris White, Sean Brightsman, BJ Chayka joining us for the Clan Wars post-race show. I'd like to thank them for taking the time to speak with us. But real quickly, want to get your final take, Greg, on this race tonight here, and what your expectations are after the 4th of July break when we go to Las Vegas for what could be a very hot one.
Tonight's race was wild, Justin. This was nothing like what we expected. It was so much fun to watch it all come together and see all these guys try to piece races together like this. So much fun to put it together. After the 4th of July break, though, Las Vegas, who doesn't love going to Las Vegas for a gamble? And you know there's going to be some drivers gambling, as we saw it throughout the course of the night. So definitely expect quite a few different strategies going into that one.
It's going to be a very intriguing race, to say the very least. But we'll have to see how things go. As mentioned by my fellow broadcast partner, Wesley Outland, the Truck Series comes to Indianapolis this upcoming Thursday. Be sure to tune in on Thursday night. That is around 11:45 p.m. Eastern Time. That's 8:45 p.m. Pacific. The next time the Cup Series hits the track is the virtual Las Vegas Motor Speedway. That will come in the middle of July, on July the 13th. Be sure to buckle in and tune in for what should be an entertaining one. Current scheduled distance 150 miles, 100 laps. Be sure to catch it here on LSR TV. Your
Hey, Justin,
racing. And
one last thing before we get out of here, bud. We need to wish Jeff Stabnow a happy birthday. I got him down in here. I told him we were going to sing, but we're not going to sing. We're just playing around. But real quickly, everybody one by one, just want to wish Jeff a happy birthday. 48 years old today. A great relationship that we're building with all you guys week in, week out with LSR TV, and of course with the Northwestern Cup and Truck Series. And a lot of it is what he does. Jeff, I know we were playing with you saying we're going to sing happy birthday. Obviously, we are announcers. We are not singers. We would probably lose a lot of viewers on the broadcast right now if we did. But Jeff, sincerely for me, beginning with me, happy birthday, buddy. And we're really enjoying being a part of what you've done with the Northwest Cup Series and Truck Program.
Happy birthday, Jeff.
Happy birthday, Jeff. You put in a ton of work in this series. Congratulations and happy birthday.
Oh, well, thank you, guys. I'm about 25 years past wanting to celebrate any of these things. So usually try to let them slide under the radar. That didn't happen, that damn Facebook. No, appreciate it, guys, and love the like you said. We got a great relationship with you guys. Absolutely love it. We have a blast. So thank you guys so much for everything that you do.
Once again, a happy birthday to Jeff Stabnow. Came home in P6 tonight after a stellar final run of this race. But with that, it's time to say goodbye. For the birthday boy, Jeff Stabnow, for producer Charles Wooden, for my co-broadcasters tonight, Wesley Outland and Greg Renz, I'm Justin Prince saying so long. This has been coverage of the Northwest Cup Series on LSR TV, your home for sim racing.
This broadcast is the copyrighted work of LSR TV and may not be rebroadcast, retranslated, or used in any form without the express written consent of 52 Media LLC and iRacing.com Motorsports Simulations. LSR TV would like to thank you for your support, and we hope you enjoyed tonight's broadcast.